The sound of a shovel scraping against ancient earth echoes through the silence, each strike pulling back the veil of time. Beneath layers of soil and stone, forgotten cities wait, their secrets buried but not lost. How many have vanished without a trace? How many civilizations once thrived only to be swallowed by time, their stories erased? As archaeologists dig, they uncover more than ruins. They unearth the mysteries of humanity's past, waiting to reshape the way we understand history. What if beneath our feet lie entire civilizations, their stories lost to the ages, yet still whispering beneath the surface, ready to be discovered? It starts with the crack of a shovel against the earth, a sound that reverberates through the stillness, as if the very ground is protesting the disturbance. The workers' hands tremble as they scrape away layers of soil, revealing the ancient stone beneath, a relic from a time long forgotten. Each stone feels like a heartbeat, as if the city once built here had a life, a pulse, a story that was silenced long ago. But that story, concealed in the dust of centuries, is slowly being revealed. Beneath this modern world, in the places we walk, work, and live, entire civilizations lie buried, their stories fading like whispers in the wind. What were they like, these lost cities? What were the people like who built them, loved them, and ultimately saw them disappear? And most importantly, why were they erased from memory, their legacies hidden from the world? We've all heard about ancient cities, Rome, Babylon, Athens, Cairo, but for every famous metropolis, there are 100 others we've forgotten. Or perhaps they've been forgotten intentionally, hidden beneath layers of time, sand, or construction. There's a certain mystique in this idea, a fascination with the possibility that the cities we think we know, the ones we build our histories upon, are just the tip of an ancient iceberg with far deeper, darker mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The concept of invisible cities is as much a philosophical one as it is historical. These are the cities we've lost track of, those which time, nature, or perhaps even our ancestors themselves have tried to erase from history. Ancient civilizations built cities not just as functional spaces, but as monuments to their gods, to their rulers, and to their own achievements. Over the centuries, however, those grand buildings, those intricate roads, and those towering temples were abandoned, forgotten, and consumed by the relentless forces of nature. Entire cities, once thriving hubs of culture, technology, and trade, are now nothing more than faded memories, occasionally revealed in the most surprising of places. But the question arises, how many of these forgotten places are still out there, buried beneath the places we live, or in the lands we've yet to fully explore? The answer is far more elusive than most would like to admit. We live in a world of towering skyscrapers, sprawling highways, and global cities that seem to dominate the landscape. But beneath the surface lies something deeper. It's not just the ancient cities we know of, like those of the Greeks and Romans, but whole worlds that have been eclipsed by the passage of time. Every time a construction crew breaks ground, every time a new subway tunnel is dug, every time a plow turns the earth, we risk uncovering fragments of a past that might change the way we understand history. It's a thought that lingers, haunting. What if the most significant chapters of human history have already been written in stone, hidden beneath the ground, just waiting for us to stumble upon them? And what if some of these chapters reveal a history that challenges everything we know about our past? Imagine standing in the middle of a city, a bustling modern metropolis, and knowing that beneath your feet, entire worlds are locked in the dark, holding secrets that could shift the balance of power in the present. Take, for example, the towering cities of the ancient world. Many of these cities, some more than 10,000 years old, still lie beneath the earth. From the great civilizations of Mesopotamia to the lost cities of the Americas, there are layers upon layers of human history waiting to be uncovered. Each stone, each artifact, each fossilized plant or animal tells a story, not just of a city's rise and fall, but of the lives that once flourished there. Imagine the humanity that walked those ancient streets, the tradespeople, the philosophers, the rulers, the workers, the dreamers. What did they see? What did they believe? What did they build, and what dreams did they have for their future? The mysteries of these ancient cities are not merely academic. They are the stories of real human beings, trying to make sense of the world around them, just as we do today. Yet, many of these cities are invisible to us, erased by time, war, nature, and the encroaching march of civilization. Why did they vanish? And why have they remained hidden for so long? Perhaps it's the same reason that many ancient civilizations built their cities to be hidden in plain sight. The secrets of ancient cities were meant to be concealed, to be preserved for those who could understand them. Some cities were built on sacred ground, in places of power and mystery, places that carried a deep spiritual meaning. In some cases, these cities were deliberately abandoned, their very existence erased in order to protect their secrets. Other times, natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, swallowed entire cities, erasing them from the map, leaving only ruins behind. But even in the modern era, we continue to uncover remnants of these lost places. It is as if the earth itself is telling us that these cities are not gone, not forgotten, but waiting to be rediscovered. With every new technological advancement, from satellite imaging to drones and LiDAR technology, archaeologists are beginning to unearth cities that have been hidden for millennia. Cities that were thought to be nothing more than legends, whispers on the wind, are proving to be real. They were here before us, and they might hold the answers to some of the world's greatest mysteries. Take the ancient city of Petra, for example. Hidden in the mountains of modern-day Jordan, Petra was only rediscovered by Western explorers in the early 19th century, despite being known to locals for centuries. But it wasn't just rediscovered, it was brought back to life. The intricacy of the city's design, carved directly into the rose-red cliffs, spoke of a civilization that was far more advanced than many had realized. And yet, for all its grandeur, Petra is only one example of a countless number of cities waiting beneath the surface, just waiting for someone to uncover them. And there are more, many more. Beneath the sands of Egypt, beneath the jungles of Cambodia, beneath the dense forests of South America, cities rest in silence, waiting for the day when they will be unearthed. Perhaps some of these places are even older than the ancient Egyptians, older than Mesopotamia, older than any civilization we currently recognize. The possibility that the very foundations of our history are built upon something we have yet to discover is both awe-inspiring and humbling. What is the significance of these cities, these invisible civilizations? Are they merely relics of the past, valuable only for the treasures they hold? Or do they hold something deeper, something more profound? Perhaps the most important thing these cities have to offer isn't just material wealth, but a window into the lives of those who lived before us. These cities, once teeming with life, hold the stories of entire peoples, of triumphs and tragedies, of victories and defeats, of lives lived with purpose, and of worlds lost to the ravages of time. For those of us who study history, the notion of invisible cities serves as both a reminder and a warning. It reminds us that the past is never truly gone. It is only waiting to be uncovered. And it warns us that the cities we build today, the civilizations we think we have mastered, may one day become the next invisible cities. The cycle of rise and fall is eternal, and we are but one chapter in the ongoing story of humankind. The questions we ask about the past, about the cities that once stood where we now walk, are as much about our future as they are about our history. Will we, too, leave behind secrets that will one day be discovered? Or will our civilizations vanish without a trace, leaving future generations to wonder who we were and what we left behind? The search for invisible cities is not just a quest for knowledge. It is a journey into the heart of what it means to be human. It is a quest to understand who we are, where we come from, and what we might leave behind for those who come after us. These lost civilizations are more than just buildings and artifacts. They are the echoes of human aspirations, dreams, and failures. And perhaps by unearthing them, we are not just uncovering the past, we are learning how to build a better future. What secrets do these lost cities hold? And what will we find when we dare to look beneath the surface? The answers may be closer than we think, hidden in the earth, waiting for us to discover them. Imagine walking through the streets of a modern city, bustling with life, neon lights casting long shadows as people rush about, their faces locked in the hurried pace of daily life. Now, picture this. Beneath the very sidewalks you're stepping on, beneath the steel and concrete, is another world. A world of forgotten streets, crumbled buildings, ancient roads, and decayed monuments. These are not the remnants of some isolated town, abandoned in the dust of time. No, these are the foundations of entire civilizations, cities that once stood at the heart of human progress, their echoes barely audible beneath the cacophony of the modern world. What if I told you that many of the cities we know and walk through every day sit atop these buried secrets? What if, just beneath the familiar streets of Paris, London, New York, or even the ancient cities of Jerusalem or Cairo, entire ancient worlds lay hidden, waiting to be discovered? What if the foundations of these cities, the ones we often take for granted, are in fact built upon layers of forgotten civilizations, with histories so rich and mysterious that they could rewrite everything we think we know about the past? The cities we see today are not isolated in time. They are built upon the memories, the stone, and the legacies of those who came before. Every brick, every stone pathway, every turn in a modern street is a thread that connects the present to the past. We live atop layers upon layers of human history, some of it well known, and much of it hidden, forgotten, or intentionally obscured. Beneath the places we call home, beneath our streets, parks, and even the quiet fields on the outskirts of town, are ancient civilizations waiting to be uncovered. The buildings we see today are not the first to stand there. In some ways, our cities are like the palimpsests of old, ancient manuscripts that have been written over and over again, with the past often erased, hidden, or obscured, leaving only faint traces of the earlier texts visible to those who know where to look. In the same way, the great cities of today, the great capitals, the modern metropolises that house millions of people, are often built directly atop earlier settlements, sometimes with only a small awareness of the cities that existed there before. We live in a world that is constantly growing, expanding, and evolving, but beneath this evolution is a history that stretches back millennia. The invisible cities, the forgotten civilizations, are always just beneath the surface, waiting for us to unearth them. Consider the city of Istanbul, once known as Byzantium and later Constantinople. Now, it's a modern, vibrant metropolis, a gateway between Europe and Asia, a city teeming with life and history. But beneath the bustling streets, under the Byzantine walls and Ottoman mosques, lies an older city, an ancient one, whose roots reach back to prehistory. The layers upon layers of civilization in this city reveal a profound truth about urban development. Every city we know today is an amalgamation of what came before it. When we walk through Istanbul, we are treading not just on roads built by the Romans and the Ottomans, but on the foundations of civilizations we don't even know about yet. It's not just Istanbul. All over the world, cities like this are the modern-day equivalents of these invisible cities. In Paris, for example, beneath the cobbled streets of the old city, lie remnants of an ancient Roman settlement that predated the modern French capital by over 1,000 years. These ancient streets, buried beneath layers of newer buildings and structures, were part of the Roman city of Lutetia, which was once a thriving settlement along the Seine River. The Roman baths, the amphitheater, and the remnants of villas still exist in hidden corners of the city, often forgotten, even by those who live there. Even in New York City, a sprawling metropolis known for its skyscrapers and bustling financial districts, there are traces of forgotten civilizations, traces that most people walk past without a second thought. Underneath the streets of Manhattan, beneath the grid of modern infrastructure, lie the ancient burial grounds and settlements of the Lenape people, who once lived in the region long before the arrival of European settlers. In fact, parts of New York's famous Central Park were built on what used to be an old Lenape burial ground. And yet, despite being built over, these sacred places still linger beneath the modern city, forgotten but never truly erased. This hidden past is not just confined to the Americas or Europe. In places like Cairo, one of the oldest cities in the world, the story of its existence is not one of linear growth but rather one of constant layering. The Egyptians built their great pyramids and temples, and those structures still stand today as awe-inspiring monuments to their civilization. But beneath them lies even older history. The city's foundations are built upon layers of ancient settlements, each one leaving its mark on the next. Beneath the city's bustling markets and crowded streets, you might find evidence of a civilization long forgotten, lost to time and only discovered when an earthquake, a flood, or a digging project unearths fragments of the past. Even more astonishing is the role of technology in uncovering these hidden histories. Archaeologists, aided by technological advancements like radar, ground-penetrating sonar, and satellite imaging, are now able to uncover entire cities that were once completely invisible to the naked eye. Cities like Angkor, the once mighty capital of the Khmer Empire in Cambodia, were hidden beneath dense jungle for centuries. It was only in recent decades, using cutting-edge tools like LiDAR, that we've been able to map the ruins of Angkor with such precision. What was once considered to be the stuff of legend, an ancient city lost to time, has proven to be much more real than anyone ever thought possible. But what makes these hidden civilizations so captivating? Why do we find ourselves so drawn to the idea of unearthing the past? It's not just about finding ancient artifacts or treasures. Although, of course, these discoveries hold their own allure. The deeper pull is rooted in our desire to connect with those who came before us, to understand the human experience through the lens of those who lived in eras long past. These lost cities are more than just ruins. They are the tangible remnants of human dreams, struggles, and innovations. Each brick, each monument, each piece of pottery found in the dirt is a fragment of a larger story, one that connects us to the people who once walked where we now stand. When we uncover these invisible cities, we aren't just uncovering the past. We are reconnecting with our shared human history. Every city we find, every ancient road we uncover, speaks to the same fundamental need to create, to build, to leave a legacy. These cities were once centers of commerce, culture, and learning. They were places where people gathered to exchange ideas, where art was created, where philosophers and scientists pondered the mysteries of the universe. And as we dig through the layers of time, we are reminded that these aspirations, these dreams, are not new. They have always been part of the human experience. But as we uncover the remnants of these civilizations, there is a deeper question that arises. What happens to our own cities when they become invisible? Will the cities of today, the ones we pour our energy into building, one day fade into the background of history, only to be uncovered by future generations? Will the bustling streets of New York, London, and Tokyo eventually become the buried cities of tomorrow, their foundations forgotten by those who walk upon them? The invisible cities that lie beneath our feet are not just relics of the past. They are reminders of the fragile nature of civilization itself. They urge us to think about what we're leaving behind, not just in terms of physical structures, but in terms of knowledge, culture, and legacy. When we look at these hidden cities, we're not just uncovering the stories of the past. We're looking ahead to the future. These cities, long buried by time, are part of a cycle of rise and fall, of creation and destruction. They remind us that no civilization, no matter how powerful or influential, is ever permanent. And perhaps, in understanding the lost worlds beneath our feet, we come to a deeper understanding of our place in the grand narrative of human history. There are cities that once thrived, towering structures of earth and stone, intricate designs that mirrored the civilizations they represented. Yet, many of these great cities lie beneath us, forgotten or erased from history. One of the most fascinating, yet elusive, examples of this lies within the ancient civilizations of North America, particularly the mysterious mound-building cultures. These enigmatic societies left behind some of the most intriguing, yet least understood, remnants of early human settlement. They are, in many ways, the forgotten giants of the ancient world. The first time one encounters the mounds of North America, it is impossible not to feel awe. These mounds, often covering large expanses of land, are monumental in scale. The largest, such as those found at Cahokia, an ancient city near modern-day St. Louis, once soared over 30 feet high, rivaling the size of pyramids. At the height of their construction, Cahokia was a thriving metropolis, home to thousands of people, with massive ceremonial platforms and burial mounds that stretch across the landscape. Yet despite their grandeur, the mounds have remained largely ignored in popular history. Why are these ancient cities so frequently overlooked? And what does it mean to uncover them? Unlike the ancient cities of the Mediterranean or Asia, the mound-building cultures of North America did not leave behind written records. Their knowledge, their stories were passed down orally, woven into the fabric of their daily lives, their rituals and their structures. The absence of written language has made it challenging for historians and archaeologists to understand the full scope of these civilizations. What were they like? What drove them to build such elaborate cities? And why did they disappear so suddenly? These are the questions that continue to captivate scholars and enthusiasts alike, and the search for answers has become an expedition into the unknown. A journey to uncover the truth about a civilization that once rivaled any other in its complexity and scale. The mound builders were not a single unified people, but rather a diverse collection of cultures that spanned across what is now the eastern United States, stretching from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. These cultures, spanning thousands of years, constructed more than just burial mounds. They created vast cityscapes, urban centers designed for social, political, and religious purposes. The largest of these cities, like Cahokia, were vast in size, rivaling the great cities of Europe in terms of population and sophistication. Yet these cities were not built with the intention of leaving behind a lasting architectural legacy, like the Greeks or Romans. Instead, they were deeply connected to the land, to the natural environment, and to the cosmic order they believed governed the universe. What's perhaps most striking about the mound-building societies is the sheer scale of their construction. Cahokia, at its peak, covered over 6 square miles and was home to as many as 20,000 people, making it one of the largest urban centers in pre-Columbian North America. This city was built with purpose, not just as a place for people to live, but as a sacred site where ritual and ceremony were central to daily life. The mounds themselves were constructed with great care, their shapes and alignments attuned to the cycles of the sun, the stars, and the changing seasons. The construction of these mounds was a monumental task, requiring both skilled labor and an intricate understanding of engineering and astronomy. They were more than just burial sites. They were places where the living could commune with the divine, where the dead were honored, and where society's leaders could display their power and authority. Yet, despite their size and sophistication, the mound-building civilizations remained shrouded in mystery. By the time European settlers arrived in North America, most of these cities had already been abandoned. The reasons for their decline are not entirely clear. Some scholars argue that environmental factors, such as soil depletion or climate change, may have played a role in the collapse of these societies. Others point to social and political factors, suggesting that warfare, internal strife, or shifts in trade networks could have contributed to their downfall. Regardless of the cause, the fact remains that the once thriving cities of the mound builders were abandoned, their grandeur slowly eroded by time and neglect. The mystery of their disappearance is one that continues to haunt archaeologists today. Unlike the civilizations of ancient Mesopotamia or Egypt, whose fall can be traced to specific historical events, invasions, foreign conquests, or environmental disasters, the fate of the mound-building cultures is far more elusive. What happened to the people of Cahokia? Did they simply move on, as so many other cultures have done throughout history? Or was there a sudden and catastrophic event that wiped them from the face of the earth? The absence of written records means we may never know the full story, but what we do know is that the remnants of these cities remain, waiting to be uncovered, providing tantalizing glimpses into a world long lost. As archaeologists continue to explore these forgotten cities, the answers begin to surface. Slowly, piece by piece. The discovery of large burial mounds, for instance, has revealed rich archaeological finds, including human remains, pottery, and tools that provide insight into the daily lives of the people who lived there. The remains of ceremonial structures and intricate artwork, etched into the earth itself, reveal a culture deeply connected to its surroundings, its spirituality, and its place in the cosmos. Yet, even with these discoveries, there is still so much we do not understand. One of the most striking revelations in recent years has been the discovery of the scale of these ancient cities. Thanks to modern technology such as ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR, we now know that the true extent of these cities is far larger than we once thought. In Cahokia, for example, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a vast network of roads and platforms that connected the city to outlying villages and ceremonial sites. These roads, built with incredible precision, stretch for miles, revealing a level of planning and coordination that suggests a highly organized society. Perhaps the most intriguing of all is the discovery of the urban layout of these ancient cities. Unlike the haphazard construction of many modern cities, the mound-building cultures of North America built their cities with purpose and precision. The city of Cahokia, for instance, was designed with a central plaza, surrounded by massive mounds that were aligned with the movements of the sun and stars. This alignment suggests a deep understanding of astronomy and the importance of celestial events in the lives of these people. Some mounds, such as Monk's Mound, the largest in Cahokia, were believed to be sacred sites, where the rulers of the city would perform ceremonies to mark the changing of seasons or honor the spirits of the dead. The complexity of these cities is staggering, and yet they remain invisible to most of us. Despite the immense efforts of archaeologists and historians, much of the story of the mound-building civilizations remains hidden, shrouded in mystery. The absence of written records and the destruction of many of these cities by later settlers have left us with little more than traces, artifacts, mounds, and oral traditions, to piece together the puzzle of who these people were and what they believed. What makes these forgotten cities so compelling is not just their scale or their grandeur, but the realization that they are part of a much larger, hidden history. These cities, like many others throughout the world, were created by people who shared a deep connection to the land, to the earth itself. Their cities were not built for dominance or empire, but for communion with the gods, with nature, and with each other. They built their cities as sacred spaces, designed not just to house people, but to foster a sense of unity and spirituality. The disappearance of these cities is a loss not just for historians, but for all of humanity. They are reminders of a time when human societies were deeply attuned to the natural world, and their achievements were tied to the cycles of the earth, the sun, and the stars. The legacy of the mound-building cultures is not just buried beneath the earth. It is embedded in the landscapes we inhabit today. The mounds, the burial sites, the ceremonial platforms. These are all physical reminders of the rich cultural heritage that once flourished in North America. And as we uncover these forgotten cities, we are not just learning about the past. We are reconnecting with the roots of human civilization itself. The mounds may be silent now, but their stories are waiting to be told. The forgotten giants of the ancient world, hidden beneath the surface, continue to call out to us, urging us to uncover the truth about the civilizations that once lived and thrived here. In the blistering heat of the Egyptian desert, where the golden sand stretches for miles, there lies a city that has remained hidden for centuries. It's a city whose name had long been forgotten, its existence known only in the faintest whispers of historical texts. Yet, in the midst of this vast, silent desert, the discovery of the lost Golden City, a sprawling, ancient metropolis near Luxor, has sent shockwaves through the archaeological world, shaking the very foundation of what we thought we knew about ancient Egypt. The discovery, in 2020, of this vast, almost intact city beneath the sand was nothing short of a miracle. The ruins, which are believed to date back to the reign of Amenhotep III, one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs, offer an unprecedented glimpse into the life of an ancient civilization at its peak. What makes this find particularly extraordinary is not just the size or the condition of the city, but the fact that it remained hidden beneath the desert for thousands of years, waiting for the right moment to be unearthed. As archaeologists began to sift through the dust and rubble, they uncovered streets lined with walls, houses, and workshops. Every step they took seemed to reveal another layer of history. The site, which is believed to have been a vibrant city center used for administration, commerce, and possibly even as a royal residence, is now being hailed as one of the most significant discoveries in Egyptology. Among the artifacts found were pottery, tools, jewelry, and even the remains of daily life, pieces that provide an intimate portrait of a society once alive with commerce, politics, and culture. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is the fact that it had been lost to time. The city, like so many others in ancient Egypt, had been buried beneath the sands, forgotten by all but the few who had knowledge of its existence. But why? Why did these cities, so vibrant and full of life, disappear from history? What forces, whether natural or man-made, conspired to erase their legacy from the record? And more importantly, what could we learn from these forgotten places, cities like the lost Golden City, that have been hidden for so long? The answer to this question is complex. In ancient Egypt, the concept of erasure was deeply tied to the idea of divine will. The Egyptians believed in the cyclical nature of time, the rising and falling of kingdoms, cities, and empires. These cycles were thought to be governed by the gods, who would, in their infinite wisdom, decide when a city or kingdom was to be destroyed, abandoned, or forgotten. It was often the result of a calamity, be it a natural disaster, a shift in the political landscape, or the rise of a new power. The city would be erased, its people scattered, and the land would be reclaimed by the desert, the Nile, or the winds. But the story of the lost Golden City is not simply one of erasure. It is one of resurrection. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, this city has been given a second chance to tell its story. It is not the only city in Egypt that has been lost to time. Over the centuries, many of Egypt's most important cities have been swallowed by the earth or buried beneath the sands, their monuments and structures slowly crumbling away. The very nature of the Egyptian landscape, a mixture of dry desert and fertile Nile, has created a unique environment where entire cities could disappear without a trace, leaving only the faintest vestiges of their existence. The significance of the lost Golden City is immense. It is not just a site of archaeological interest. It is a window into the soul of ancient Egyptian society. The city is believed to have been in use during one of the most prosperous periods in Egyptian history, the reign of Amenhotep III. This was a time of unprecedented wealth, when Egypt was at the height of its power, with vast trade networks stretching across the Mediterranean and into Africa and Asia. The pharaohs of this period were not only rulers of Egypt but also cultural icons, shaping the political and artistic landscape of the ancient world. Within the city, archaeologists found evidence of daily life that is almost unmatched in its richness and variety. Pottery shards, tools, and jewelry, all intricately decorated, provide a glimpse into the daily routines of the city's inhabitants. What stands out, however, is the discovery of numerous buildings that appear to have been constructed for both functional and ceremonial purposes. These buildings were not just meant to house people but were designed to communicate power, wealth, and divinity. The walls of the city seem to speak of a culture deeply attuned to the cycles of nature. The rise and fall of the Nile, the setting of the sun, the movements of the stars. Egypt's ancient builders understood how to create not only monuments but environments that reflected the divine order. The city also offers tantalizing clues about the political and religious life of the time. Some of the artifacts found suggest that the city may have been used as an administrative center, a place where decisions about the management of Egypt's vast empire were made. The discovery of seals and inscriptions bearing the name of Amenhotep III further suggests that this city may have been directly connected to the pharaoh's court. If this is the case, it would mean that the lost Golden City was not just a place of commerce and daily life, but a center of power, a nexus of the political and spiritual forces that shaped Egypt's greatness. But why, then, was the city abandoned? Why did this thriving metropolis fall silent? The answer, like the city itself, is buried in the sands of time. Some experts believe that the city's decline may have been caused by changes in the political landscape. The reign of Amenhotep III was followed by a period of instability, as Egypt faced internal strife and external threats. The rise of Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh, marked a dramatic shift in religious and political thinking, and the Old Kingdom's centralization of power began to crumble. In this context, the abandonment of the lost Golden City could have been part of a larger trend of urban centers falling into disuse as power shifted elsewhere. Yet, the city's return from oblivion tells a different story. It is as if the city was waiting for the right moment to be uncovered, to reveal its mysteries to the world once again. The excavations in recent years have not only unearthed a city, but have resurrected a part of ancient Egypt that had long been shrouded in mystery. The artifacts found, from everyday pottery to intricately crafted jewelry, all offer a glimpse into a world that had been lost, forgotten, and erased. This is the power of archaeology, not just to uncover the physical remnants of the past, but to restore the stories of the people who lived in these cities, to breathe life back into civilizations that had long been silenced. The story of the lost Golden City is not just about the past. It is a story that speaks to the present. As we look at the ruins of this city, the walls, the artifacts, the tools, we are reminded of the fragility of civilization. We live in a world where empires rise and fall, where cities are built and abandoned, where entire cultures can fade into the shadows of time. Yet, the fact that this city has been rediscovered shows that history is never truly lost. Like the city itself, our stories, our legacies, are buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered, waiting for someone to dig through the sands and bring them back into the light. And as we look upon the ruins of the lost Golden City, we are reminded of the timeless connection between people and place. The city may have been abandoned, but its story, the story of its rise, its splendor, and its eventual fall, continues to resonate with us today. In the face of such discoveries, one can't help but wonder, how much more of the ancient world remains hidden, buried beneath the sands, beneath the earth, beneath our feet, and what, if anything, can we learn from these cities of the past, their stories etched in stone, their legacies waiting to be uncovered? Some cities never truly vanish. They simply fade into silence, their stories buried beneath layers of time and dust. Yet, beneath the surface, they persist, not as physical structures, but as faint traces, lingering like shadows in the fabric of history. One such city lies beneath the dense jungles of Central America, a lost city, once teeming with life, now reclaimed by nature. This is the city of Tikal, one of the greatest cities of the Maya civilization, whose ruins are scattered across the northern Guatemalan rainforest. For centuries, Tikal remained hidden, overshadowed by the surrounding jungle, its secrets locked away beneath thick canopies and tangled vines. But beneath the trees, the remnants of a once thriving metropolis, with towering temples, palaces, and plazas, waited to be rediscovered. The story of Tikal begins more than 2,000 years ago, in a time when the Maya were at the height of their power. The Maya civilization, with its sophisticated understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, built cities that were marvels of the ancient world. Tikal was one of the largest and most influential of these cities, a center of politics, culture, and religion in the ancient Maya lowlands. The city sprawled over an area of more than 16 square kilometers, with impressive architecture that included towering pyramids, vast plazas, and intricately designed palaces. It was a city that spoke to the greatness of the Maya civilization, a civilization that was defined by its deep connection to the cosmos, to nature, and to the unseen forces that govern the world. Yet, despite its grandeur, Tikal, like so many other cities of the ancient world, faded into obscurity. When Spanish explorers first arrived in the Americas, they were unaware of the great cities that once dotted the landscape. The jungles of Central America had long since reclaimed Tikal, covering it with thick vegetation, its temples and pyramids hidden beneath the green canopy. The city had already fallen into ruin long before the arrival of Europeans, its inhabitants having abandoned it centuries earlier. But why did Tikal, a city that once boasted such power and influence, disappear? What caused the fall of a civilization that had mastered the art of city building, that had flourished for centuries, only to be lost to time? The decline of Tikal is one of the most puzzling and tragic mysteries in the history of the ancient world. Some scholars believe that the city's fall was due to environmental factors, particularly the depletion of the region's natural resources. The Maya were highly dependent on the land for their sustenance, and the forests that surrounded Tikal were gradually cleared to make way for agriculture, leaving the land vulnerable to erosion and soil degradation. The once fertile lands surrounding the city began to lose their productivity, and the city's population, which had grown rapidly over the centuries, faced an increasing strain on resources. It is believed that as the environment deteriorated, so too did the social fabric of the city, leading to internal strife, political instability, and, eventually, the abandonment of Tikal. However, other theories suggest that the collapse of Tikal was not solely a result of environmental factors, but also a consequence of political and military conflict. The Maya civilization was composed of numerous independent city-states, each ruled by its own king or ruler. Tikal was a dominant power in the region, but its rise to prominence was not without its rivals. The city-state of Calakmul, located to the north, was a major adversary of Tikal, and the two engaged in a series of wars and alliances over several centuries. It is believed that Tikal's eventual decline was partly due to its protracted military conflicts with Calakmul and other neighboring city-states. The prolonged warfare may have drained the city's resources, weakened its defenses, and contributed to the eventual downfall of the once mighty metropolis. Despite its fall, Tikal did not disappear entirely. While the city's grand temples and palaces were slowly overtaken by the jungle, the remnants of its greatness remained hidden beneath the thick foliage. It wasn't until the 19th century that the city was rediscovered by explorers, who marveled at the scale of the ruins and the intricacy of the Maya architecture. But even as Tikal emerged from the shadows of the jungle, much about its history remained a mystery. The Maya, unlike many other ancient civilizations, left behind few written records, making it difficult to piece together the full story of Tikal's rise and fall. The few inscriptions that have been discovered offer glimpses into the city's political and religious life, but they are often cryptic, leaving more questions than answers. What made Tikal so captivating, even after it had been abandoned for centuries, was not just its monumental architecture, but the sheer mystery of its past. Standing among the ruins of Tikal, it is impossible not to be awestruck by the grandeur of the city, the towering pyramids reaching toward the sky, the intricate carvings on the temples, the vast plazas that once hosted ceremonies and gatherings. But there is something haunting about the site, too. A sense that Tikal is a place frozen in time, a place that has witnessed the rise and fall of a great civilization, only to be swallowed by the jungle, leaving behind only fragments of its former glory. The rediscovery of Tikal has led to a renewed interest in the Maya civilization and in the mysteries of the ancient cities that the Central American landscape. Yet, even as scholars and archaeologists continue to explore the ruins, much about the Maya remains hidden, obscured by time, nature, and the limitations of modern archaeology. The Maya were not a monolithic culture. They were a diverse and complex civilization, with distinct city-states, each with its own history, customs, and beliefs. Tikal was but one of many great cities in the Maya lowlands, and yet its story has become a symbol of the rise and fall of an entire civilization. Tikal's rediscovery in the modern era is also a reminder of the fragility of human civilization. The Maya, like so many other ancient cultures, built their cities to last, to stand as monuments to their achievements, their power, and their connection to the gods. But despite their efforts, these cities ultimately succumbed to the forces of nature, to the ravages of time, and to the shifting tides of history. And as we stand among the ruins of Tikal, we are reminded of the impermanence of all things, even the greatest civilizations. There is a certain power in the fact that Tikal, like so many other lost cities, was not completely erased from history. The city may have fallen, but its story endures, etched into the stones of its temples and pyramids, waiting to be uncovered. It is a story that speaks not just to the past, but to the present. It is a story about the fragility of human achievement, about the limits of power, and about the mysterious forces that shape the rise and fall of civilizations. Yet, even as we uncover the secrets of Tikal, the question remains: how many more cities like it are hidden beneath the surface? How many more ancient metropolises lie buried beneath the dense jungles of Central America, beneath the sands of Egypt, beneath the depths of the ocean? The discovery of Tikal was not the end of the search for lost cities, but rather the beginning. Every excavation, every exploration, brings us closer to understanding not just the cities themselves, but the people who built them, the rulers, the artisans, the farmers, and the laborers who once walked these streets and built these monuments. Each city is a chapter in the greater story of human civilization, and as we continue to unearth them, we continue to uncover the story of who we are, where we come from, and where we might be headed. Tikal may have been abandoned, But its story is far from over. Like the other lost cities of the world, it remains a testament to the resilience of human culture, to the power of memory, and to the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface, waiting for us to uncover. It is a city that calls out to us, a city that asks us to look beyond the modern world and reconnect with the ancient past. It is a reminder that, no matter how far we've come, the lost cities of the world are still out there, waiting to be found, waiting to reveal their secrets, and waiting to remind us of the enduring power of history. The ancient world was a place of vast and powerful empires, where great civilizations flourished and then disappeared, often without a trace. But sometimes, in the quietest of places, far from the bustling capitals and monumental structures, there were cities that defied all expectations, cities that remained hidden for centuries. One such city lies in the heart of the dense jungles of Cambodia, far from the well-worn paths of the tourist routes, where the echoes of an ancient empire still resonate. This city, known as Angkor, was once the epicenter of the Khmer Empire, a sprawling kingdom that ruled much of Southeast Asia. Its ruins, now famous the world over, are not merely monuments to an ancient civilization but a testament to the enduring human spirit, to a culture that built one of the greatest cities in history, only for it to be forgotten, hidden beneath the jungle for centuries. The discovery of Angkor in the 19th century was a moment that changed the way the world looked at ancient civilizations. The temples, monuments, and the vast city complex that lay hidden in the jungle had been lost to the world for hundreds of years. The empire that built Angkor, the Khmer Empire, was one of the most powerful civilizations in Southeast Asia, and yet, despite its grandeur and cultural achievements, its capital city disappeared from the historical record, swallowed by the dense vegetation and forgotten by time. Angkor was not only a city but a kingdom that shaped the very landscape of Southeast Asia. Its legacy, in terms of art, architecture, religion, and culture, is still felt today. Yet, the story of how it was lost to history, how an empire so powerful could simply vanish, is both fascinating and tragic. The Khmer Empire, which flourished between the 9th and 15th centuries, was one of the most sophisticated civilizations of its time. It was a society built on agriculture, religion, and trade, with a deep understanding of engineering and architecture. At the heart of the empire was Angkor, the capital city, which at its peak may have been home to over 1 million people. It was an urban center of unmatched scale and complexity, with vast temples, elaborate palaces, water reservoirs, and sophisticated infrastructure that served as the lifeblood of the empire. Angkor was not just a city. It was a reflection of the grandeur and power of the Khmer Empire itself. The city's centerpiece was Angkor Wat, the largest religious monument ever constructed. Built in the early 12th century by King Suryavarman II, Angkor Wat was initially dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, but later transformed into a Buddhist temple. The sheer scale and precision of the temple, with its towering spires, intricate bas-reliefs, and massive stone structures, is a testament to the advanced engineering and architectural skills of the Khmer people. Angkor Wat was not just a place of worship. It was a symbol of the divine power of the king, a physical manifestation of the cosmic order that the Khmer Empire sought to represent. Surrounding Angkor Wat were countless other temples and structures, each with its own unique design and purpose. The Bayon Temple, for example, is renowned for its massive stone faces, which are believed to represent the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The temple was built in the late 12th century by King Jayavarman VII, whose reign marked the zenith of the Khmer Empire. Under his leadership, Angkor grew to its greatest extent, and the city expanded to include vast reservoirs, canals, and a network of roads that connected the temples and urban areas. Angkor was a city of grand design, where religious, political, and social life were deeply intertwined, creating a culture that was as magnificent as it was complex. But despite its power and splendor, Angkor eventually began to decline. The reasons for this decline are still debated by scholars, but many factors likely contributed to the fall of the Khmer Empire. One of the most widely accepted theories is that environmental factors played a significant role. The Khmer people relied heavily on an elaborate system of canals and water reservoirs to support their agriculture, which in turn supported the population of Angkor. However, In the late 14th and early 15th centuries, the region experienced a period of climate instability, with extended droughts and floods disrupting the delicate balance of the empire's agricultural system. As the water supply became increasingly unreliable, the empire's ability to sustain its growing population began to falter. In addition to environmental challenges, political instability and external threats also played a part in the decline of Angkor. In the 13th and 14th centuries, the Khmer Empire faced increasing pressure from neighboring kingdoms, particularly the Thai kingdom of Ayutthaya. The Thai forces launched a series of attacks on Angkor, weakening its power and eventually leading to the abandonment of the city. Angkor, once the epicenter of a powerful empire, was gradually abandoned as the Khmer court moved to a new capital. As the people of Angkor fled to other parts of the empire, the once thriving city was left to decay, slowly being overtaken by the jungle. The abandonment of Angkor is one of the most tragic chapters in the history of ancient cities. How could a civilization so advanced, so powerful, fall into ruin? And why did Angkor, a city that had been a beacon of culture, knowledge, and architecture, disappear without a trace? For centuries, the city remained hidden, known only to a handful of locals who still lived near the ruins. The jungle, with its dense vegetation and unforgiving terrain, had done its work. Angkor's temples and palaces were slowly overtaken by the relentless growth of trees, vines, and plants, leaving the city to be forgotten by all but those who lived in its shadow. It wasn't until the 19th century, when French explorer Henri Mouhot stumbled upon the ruins, that the world would rediscover Angkor. Mouhot's account of the site, published in 1863, introduced Angkor to the Western world and sparked a renewed interest in the lost city. Archaeological expeditions followed, and over time, the true scale and significance of the city began to emerge. But despite these efforts, much of Angkor remains shrouded in mystery. Despite the many discoveries, we still don't fully understand how such a magnificent civilization could have collapsed so suddenly, or why the city was abandoned in the way it was. The discovery of Angkor was a momentous event in the study of ancient civilizations, but it also raised more questions than it answered. What happened to the people who once called Angkor home? What were their lives like, and how did they contribute to the cultural and architectural achievements of the city? And what lessons can we learn from the rise and fall of this once great empire? As scholars continue to uncover the secrets of Angkor, the city remains an enduring symbol of human ambition, creativity, and resilience. Angkor's monuments, its temples, and its water systems speak to the ingenuity of the Khmer people, who were able to build one of the largest and most sophisticated cities of the ancient world. Yet, Angkor also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of civilization. The rise and fall of the Khmer Empire shows us that no matter how powerful or advanced a civilization may seem, it is always vulnerable to the forces of nature, politics, and time. Perhaps the most striking aspect of Angkor's story is the way in which the city was reclaimed by the jungle. For centuries, the ruins of Angkor lay hidden, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered. This is a reminder that history is never truly lost. It is only waiting to be uncovered. The story of Angkor, like so many other lost cities, is not just one of decline and abandonment. It is a story of resilience, of the city's ability to endure through the centuries, hidden beneath the canopy of the jungle, waiting for those with the courage and determination to uncover its secrets. The lost city of Angkor is a testament to the greatness of the human spirit, to the ability of people to create and build, to shape their environment in ways that defy the limits of time and space. And as we stand among the ruins of this once great city, we are reminded that, like Angkor itself, the civilizations we build today will one day be remembered only in fragments. The cities we inhabit, the empires we build, will one day be reduced to whispers and ruins, covered by the sands of time or overtaken by nature's relentless growth. But as long as we continue to search for the lost cities of the past, we will keep their stories alive, ensuring that their legacies never fade into the darkness of obscurity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren desert, an ancient mystery stirred in the heart of the Arabian Peninsula. Deep in the vast stretches of sand and rock, There once stood a city whose story has been largely forgotten by time. This was the city of Ubar, often called the Atlantis of the Sands, a place that has haunted the imaginations of adventurers and scholars alike for centuries. The tale of Ubar is one of lost grandeur and the insatiable human desire to uncover what has been hidden for millennia. The legend of Ubar dates back to antiquity. Descriptions of the city vary, but it is often said to have been a prosperous trading hub, a civilization that flourished long before the rise of Islam. Ancient texts and oral traditions tell of a city located in the Arabian desert, famed for its wealth, opulence, and magnificent palaces. Ubar was said to be a place of stunning beauty, with grand buildings adorned in gold and precious stones, and streets lined with lavish markets selling the finest goods from distant lands. Its people were believed to have access to vast resources, particularly frankincense and myrrh, two highly prized commodities in the ancient world, which were exported along the lucrative trade routes that connected the Arabian Peninsula to the Mediterranean, Africa, and India. According to some versions of the legend, Ubar's wealth and success were a direct result of the city's connection to the divine. It was said that the people of Ubar were blessed by the gods, living in a city that had been created by supernatural forces. However, as with many stories of great civilizations, Ubar's prosperity was also its downfall. The tale, as told in the Quran and various other sources, speaks of a city whose inhabitants became arrogant and corrupt, losing their reverence for the divine and becoming consumed by greed. The gods, displeased by their hubris, punished them by causing the city to sink into the earth, swallowed whole by the sands of the desert. Over time, the story of Ubar faded from the collective memory of the world. It became a myth, a legend passed down through generations, with little evidence to confirm its existence. Some dismissed the tale as mere fantasy, an allegory of moral decay and divine punishment, while others believed the city might still exist, waiting to be uncovered by a fortunate few. The quest to find Ubar became an obsession for explorers and archaeologists, driven by the hope that the sands of time would reveal the truth. But despite numerous expeditions, the city remained elusive, as if mocking those who sought to uncover its secrets. The search for Ubar began in earnest in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when a number of explorers set out into the vast desert in search of the lost city. Some believed that Ubar could be located in the southern Arabian Peninsula, near the border between Oman and Yemen, where a place called the Empty Quarter, or Rub al-Khali, lay. This is one of the largest continuous sand deserts in the world, a region so harsh and inhospitable that it had long been considered impassable. It is a place where the desert stretches as far as the eye can see, and where nothing seems to grow or live. To venture into the Empty Quarter is to step into an alien landscape, where the forces of nature dominate and the echoes of ancient history are drowned beneath the relentless winds and shifting dunes. In the early 20th century, the famous explorer Wilfred Thesiger ventured into this desolate expanse, searching for Ubar's elusive remains. Thesiger, known for his daring expeditions across the Arabian Peninsula, was drawn to the legend of the lost city and hoped to uncover what others had only dreamed of. But even his extensive travels in the Empty Quarter yielded no answers. The city remained hidden, a phantom lost to the ages. As the years passed, the myth of Ubar began to take on a life of its own. Writers, poets, and historians continued to tell stories of the city's grandeur, its riches, and its ultimate destruction. The idea of Ubar as a city of great wealth and beauty that vanished into the desert became a symbol of both the fragility and the arrogance of human civilization. It was a reminder that even the most powerful empires could fall, swallowed by time and nature. But the search for Ubar did not end with the adventurers of the 19th and 20th centuries. The legend remained alive in the minds of archaeologists and explorers, and in the 1990s, a breakthrough occurred that would bring the quest for Ubar to new heights. It was during this period that a new wave of scientific techniques began to revolutionize the way historians approached the past. Among these new tools was satellite imagery, a technology that had already proven to be invaluable in locating ancient sites across the globe. Using high-resolution satellite photos, researchers began to comb the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula for signs of ancient ruins. In 1992, A team led by the geographer Dr. David Kennedy uncovered a set of intriguing structures in the empty quarter. These structures, which appeared as faint traces on satellite images, bore an uncanny resemblance to the ancient city described in the legend of Ubar. The team, working in collaboration with archaeologists from Oman, conducted a series of expeditions to the region, uncovering the remnants of a once thriving city buried beneath the sands. The discovery was groundbreaking. Here, deep in the desert, were the ruins of a city that might very well be Ubar, or at least a civilization that had once existed in the same area. The ruins that were uncovered in the empty quarter included large stone structures, remnants of walls, and other artifacts that suggested a sophisticated society once lived there. Pottery, tools, and inscriptions were found, offering evidence of a culture that had once flourished in the harsh desert environment. The remains were not as grand as the city described in ancient texts, but they were enough to suggest that a significant settlement had once existed in the area. Despite this exciting discovery, many questions remain. Was this the city of Ubar? Or was it simply one of many ancient settlements that once dotted the desert landscape? The evidence uncovered so far does not definitively prove the existence of Ubar, and the link between the ruins and the legendary city remains speculative. Nonetheless, the discovery of these ruins has reignited interest in the legend of Ubar and has brought new attention to the ongoing search for lost cities beneath the sands. The mystery of Ubar is one that continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. The city, if it ever truly existed, is more than just a physical location. It is a symbol of the transience of human achievement. Like other lost cities, Ubar speaks to the impermanence of civilizations and the fleeting nature of power and wealth. The legend of Ubar, with its tale of divine punishment and catastrophic downfall, serves as a cautionary story about hubris and the dangers of excess. But the search for Ubar is also a testament to human curiosity and determination. Despite centuries of failure and frustration, the dream of finding the lost city endures. The quest to uncover Ubar is not just about discovering the remains of a long-lost civilization. It is about understanding the forces that shaped the rise and fall of ancient societies, and perhaps even finding answers to the questions that continue to haunt us. How did these ancient civilizations rise to greatness? What led to their downfall? And what can their stories teach us about our own future? The legend of Ubar, whether real or mythical, will continue to inspire those who seek to uncover the secrets of the past. It is a reminder that history is not just a collection of facts and dates, but a living, breathing story that is waiting to be told. Each discovery, each new piece of evidence, brings us closer to understanding the forces that shaped the world we live in today. And perhaps, one day, the sands of the desert will yield the final answer to the mystery of Ubar, and with it, a deeper understanding of the ancient civilizations that once thrived and then disappeared, leaving behind only their legends and their echoes in the wind. Beneath the depths of the ocean lies a city that was once a bustling center of trade, culture, and innovation. A city that flourished for centuries before sinking into the sea, disappearing from the historical record, only to be rediscovered in the modern age, centuries after its fall. This is the story of Atlantis, the legendary city whose tale has captivated human imagination for millennia. But was Atlantis merely a myth, or is there a kernel of truth hidden in its fantastical origins? The story of Atlantis begins with the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who first introduced the world to the fabled city in his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, around 360 BCE. According to Plato, Atlantis was a powerful and advanced civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. The city was said to be a vast island, larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, and its people were prosperous, highly skilled, and in tune with the gods. At the height of its power, Atlantis was a marvel of architecture and engineering, with grand palaces, massive temples, and a network of canals that divided the city into concentric circles. The people of Atlantis were said to possess advanced technologies, including an ability to manipulate energy, and their civilization was one of peace, harmony, and prosperity. But, as with many great civilizations, Atlantis' success was short-lived. Plato tells us that, over time, the people of Atlantis became corrupted by power and greed. They lost their sense of virtue and their connection to the divine, and as a result, they fell into moral decay. The gods, angered by the Atlanteans' arrogance and their disregard for the natural order, decided to punish them. In a single catastrophic event, Atlantis was submerged beneath the waves, swallowed whole by the sea, and lost to history forever. The moral of the story, Plato suggests, is a warning against the dangers of excess, the corrupting influence of power, and the fragility of human greatness. For centuries, Atlantis remained a myth, a powerful allegory of the rise and fall of civilizations, and a symbol of the hubris that leads to their destruction. However, the legend never faded entirely from public consciousness. Explorers, scholars, and adventurers continued to search for the lost city, convinced that somewhere beneath the ocean's surface, there might be a trace of this fabled civilization. The idea of Atlantis remained deeply embedded in Western culture, inspiring countless theories, stories, and myths. Its location has been the subject of endless speculation, with various theories pointing to places as far-ranging as the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, the Antarctic, and even the Azores. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the search for Atlantis took on a more serious scientific tone. Archaeologists and geologists, equipped with new tools and technologies, began to explore the depths of the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, searching for any sign of the lost city. Some even suggested that Atlantis could be the remains of an ancient civilization that had been destroyed by a cataclysmic event, such as a volcanic eruption or an earthquake. In the 1920s, a geologist named Charles Hapgood proposed the idea that Atlantis was actually located in the area that is now the Caribbean, suggesting that the city had been destroyed by a massive natural disaster caused by the shifting of the Earth's crust. One of the most famous attempts to locate Atlantis came in the 1960s, when a team of researchers discovered what they believed to be evidence of an ancient city beneath the waters of the Mediterranean. Located near the island of Santorini, the team found ruins that seemed to match some of Plato's descriptions, including large stone structures and intricate frescoes. The discovery of the ancient Minoan city of Akrotiri on Santorini was hailed as a major breakthrough, and many believed that this was the Atlantis of legend. However, further research revealed that the Minoan civilization, while advanced in its own right, was not Atlantis. Akrotiri had been destroyed by a volcanic eruption around 1600 BCE, long before Plato's account of Atlantis. While the ruins of Santorini were undeniably remarkable, they were not the lost city that had captured the world's imagination for centuries. Despite the absence of definitive proof, the idea of Atlantis continues to capture the imagination of people worldwide. The legend persists, even in the face of mounting skepticism. But perhaps the allure of Atlantis lies not in the search for a literal city beneath the sea, but in what it represents: a warning, a symbol, a reflection of the dangers of overreaching ambition and the fleeting nature of human power. Atlantis is more than just a lost city. It is an archetype, a mirror held up to humanity's own hubris and fragility. The search for Atlantis has spurred countless theories over the years, many of which have been dismissed as fanciful or improbable. Some claim that the city is buried under the sands of the Sahara Desert, hidden beneath ancient floodwaters that once covered the region. Others suggest that Atlantis was a precursor to the ancient Egyptians, its advanced technologies and wisdom passed down to future civilizations. One particularly popular theory suggests that Atlantis was located in the Caribbean, specifically on the island of Cuba, where some claim to have found underwater structures that resemble ancient architecture. Yet, despite these theories, there is still no conclusive evidence that Atlantis ever existed as a real, physical place. One of the most enduring theories, however, posits that the legend of Atlantis is based on a real event, the destruction of the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete. The Minoans, who lived on Crete between 1450 and 1600 BCE, were one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient Mediterranean. They were known for their intricate palaces, advanced plumbing systems, and vibrant art and culture. But the Minoans were struck by a catastrophic disaster, a massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini. The eruption was one of the largest in recorded history, and it caused widespread devastation, including the collapse of the Minoan civilization. Some have suggested that the eruption and the subsequent destruction of the Minoans might have inspired the legend of Atlantis, with Plato's story serving as a metaphor for the fall of an advanced society. While this theory remains one of the most widely accepted explanations for the Atlantis legend, it does not entirely explain the specifics of Plato's account. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island nation that existed well beyond the known world, a civilization far more advanced than anything in the Mediterranean. The Minoans, though sophisticated, do not seem to fit this description. Moreover, Plato's tale of a massive, cataclysmic event that destroyed Atlantis bears a closer resemblance to a much larger, more global catastrophe than the localized eruption on Thera. So, what is the truth about Atlantis? Is it a real place, lost beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered? Or is it a myth, a cautionary tale, a symbolic warning about the dangers of arrogance and greed? Perhaps the true meaning of Atlantis lies not in its physical existence, but in its role as a cultural touchstone, a story that has endured for thousands of years because it speaks to something deeply human. Atlantis is the ultimate symbol of the rise and fall of civilizations, the fleeting nature of human power, and the consequences of losing one's connection to the divine or natural order. The search for Atlantis may never yield concrete answers, but the legend will continue to inspire. It serves as a reminder that history, whether factual or mythical, shapes our understanding of the present. The stories we tell about our past reflect our hopes, our fears, and our understanding of the world. And as long as the tale of Atlantis continues to captivate the human imagination, the lost city will live on, not as a physical place, but as an eternal symbol of the fragility of human greatness. Deep within the heart of South America, hidden from the world for centuries, there lies a mystery so compelling that it has fueled the imaginations of explorers, historians, and adventurers for generations. This is the story of El Dorado, the legendary city of gold that has haunted the dreams of conquistadors and treasure hunters alike. For centuries, stories of unimaginable wealth, glittering gold, and untold riches have been passed down, painting a picture of a city hidden somewhere in the dense jungles of the Amazon, waiting to be uncovered. But was El Dorado a mere myth, or did this golden city actually exist? The tale of El Dorado begins with the Spanish conquest of the Americas in the early 16th century. When the Spanish arrived on the continent, they were greeted by indigenous peoples who spoke of a kingdom, far to the east, where a king covered in gold ruled over a city filled with treasures beyond belief. This king, known as El Dorado, which means the Golden One, was said to bathe in gold dust and wear golden jewelry from head to toe. The city itself, according to legend, was a place where the streets were paved with gold, and the temples and palaces were adorned with precious stones and metals. For the Spanish, this was the ultimate prize, a city where wealth beyond imagination could be found, a place that would make them rich beyond their wildest dreams. The first European to hear of El Dorado was Francisco Pizarro, the infamous conquistador who had conquered the Inca Empire in Peru. Pizarro's exploits in South America had already brought him immense wealth, but the lure of even greater riches proved irresistible. He began to hear rumors from the indigenous people about a vast, golden empire somewhere in the interior of the continent. According to these tales, the king of this empire, El Dorado, would offer the Spanish unimaginable wealth if they could find him. Pizarro's dreams of gold led him to send expeditions deep into the Andes, but none returned with any definitive evidence of the legendary city. Nonetheless, the rumors persisted, and soon, the hunt for El Dorado became a central part of the Spanish colonial agenda. In the years that followed, numerous expeditions were launched in search of El Dorado, but each one ended in failure, with the explorers either dying in the unforgiving jungle or returning empty-handed. One of the most famous figures in this quest was the Spanish conquistador Gonzalo Pizarro, the half-brother of Francisco Pizarro. In 1541, Gonzalo led an expedition deep into the Amazon basin, following the rumors of El Dorado. With a force of 250 men, Pizarro ventured into the unknown, braving treacherous terrain, hostile tribes, and a lack of provisions. Yet, despite the hardships, the expedition pressed on, convinced that the city of gold lay just beyond the horizon. As they journeyed deeper into the jungle, the expedition encountered numerous obstacles. The group faced constant attacks from indigenous tribes, harsh weather conditions, and the ever-present threat of starvation. Eventually, after months of traveling, Pizarro and his men were forced to turn back, defeated and without having found any trace of the fabled city. The legend of El Dorado seemed to grow more elusive with each passing year, and many began to question whether it was simply a product of exaggerated stories and wild imagination. Some scholars argue that the legend of El Dorado was created by the indigenous peoples themselves, a story designed to confuse and mislead the Spanish invaders. In their culture, gold held great significance, and the idea of a golden kingdom may have been a metaphor for something deeper, perhaps a place of great spiritual power or wealth in a more symbolic sense. Despite the failures of numerous expeditions, the idea of El Dorado continued to capture the Spanish imagination. The legend evolved over time, with each new tale adding to the mythos of the Golden City. The search for El Dorado became a defining feature of the Spanish colonial experience in South America. As the years went on, the pursuit of the City of Gold became an obsession for many, driving explorers to the most remote and inhospitable parts of the continent. In the 16th and 17th centuries, adventurers such as Sir Walter Raleigh and Hernán Pérez de Quesada followed in the footsteps of Pizarro, hoping to uncover the truth behind the myth. Raleigh, in particular, became one of the most famous explorers associated with the search for El Dorado. Raleigh, an English explorer and writer, embarked on an expedition to South America in the late 1590s, convinced that he could find the legendary city. He explored the Orinoco River in present-day Venezuela, convinced that El Dorado was hidden somewhere along its banks. Raleigh's journey was fraught with difficulties, from hostile encounters with indigenous tribes to harsh environmental conditions, and though he returned to England with tales of his adventures, he was unable to produce any concrete evidence of El Dorado's existence. However, his search for the City of Gold added to the growing mystique surrounding the legend and inspired future generations of explorers to continue the hunt. But what was it that kept the legend of El Dorado alive for so many centuries? Why did so many explorers and adventurers persist in searching for a city that seemed to defy all logic? Some historians argue that the quest for El Dorado was driven not just by the desire for wealth, but also by the search for power. The idea of a city of gold held a certain allure for European explorers, who were eager to extend their influence and control over the newly discovered lands of the Americas. The discovery of El Dorado would not only bring riches but would also cement their legacy as conquerors of a great and ancient civilization. Moreover, the pursuit of El Dorado was tied to the broader European obsession with the unknown and the desire to conquer the world's mysteries. The uncharted jungles of South America were a perfect canvas for the imagination to run wild, and the myth of El Dorado became a symbol of that endless search for the unknown. The myth persisted well into the 18th and 19th centuries, with numerous expeditions still being launched in search of the Golden City. But as time passed, the idea of El Dorado began to evolve. No longer just a literal city of gold, it became a metaphor for the unattainable, a dream that could never be realized. In the 19th century, the discovery of vast resources in the Americas, such as silver in Mexico and Peru, helped to overshadow the myth of El Dorado. As new cities and civilizations were uncovered, the legend of the Golden City seemed to fade into the background. Yet, even today, the story of El Dorado continues to captivate the world. It has become a symbol of the dangers of greed and the eternal human quest for wealth, power, and glory. Some modern historians suggest that the legend of El Dorado may have been based on the real wealth of the Inca Empire, whose gold and silver treasures were well known to the Spanish conquistadors. The Incas had vast amounts of precious metals, which they used for religious rituals and as offerings to the gods. The idea of a golden city may have arisen from the Spanish encounter with Inca treasure hoards, which were sometimes described in exaggerated terms by the indigenous peoples. However, no definitive evidence exists to prove that a city like El Dorado ever existed, and most scholars now view the legend as a combination of myth, cultural misunderstandings, and embellished accounts by early explorers. Despite the fact that El Dorado may never have existed in the way it was envisioned, the allure of the Golden City persists. Its story is a reflection of humanity's enduring fascination with the promise of unimaginable wealth, the pursuit of glory, and the temptation of an unattainable ideal. El Dorado represents not just a physical place but a psychological journey, a quest for something greater, something more elusive than gold itself. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed, the cost of unchecked ambition, and the lengths to which people will go in pursuit of their dreams. The myth of El Dorado is a story that endures because it speaks to something deep within the human spirit, a desire for discovery, a thirst for adventure, and the search for meaning in a world that is often hard to understand. Whether or not El Dorado was a real city, its legacy lives on, a testament to the power of myth and the eternal human desire to uncover the mysteries of the world. As long as people continue to dream of gold, glory, and the unknown, the story of El Dorado will continue to be told. A story of a city lost to time, buried in the depths of the jungle, waiting to be rediscovered. In the dense, unyielding jungles of Central America, beneath layers of soil and centuries of history, there lies a mystery that has both fascinated and perplexed generations of explorers. This is the story of the Maya civilization, whose grand cities once rose from the jungle floor in a burst of cultural, mathematical, and architectural brilliance, only to fade into obscurity centuries before Europeans arrived in the Americas. The story of the Maya is not just one of scientific achievements or artistic expression, but one of enigmatic disappearance, a civilization that seemingly abandoned its vast cities without a trace. The question that has lingered for centuries is this: why did the Maya civilization collapse? And what, if anything, remains of their lost cities? The Maya civilization was one of the most advanced and sophisticated societies in pre-Columbian America. Flourishing in the lowland rainforests of southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, the Maya developed an intricate society that spanned thousands of years, from around 2000 BCE until the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century. Unlike the empires of Europe and Asia, the Maya were not a single unified kingdom but a network of city-states, each with its own ruler, culture, and political system. These city-states, often engaged in trade and warfare with one another, created a shared civilization that thrived in isolation from the outside world. The architectural legacy of the Maya is one of their most striking features. The Maya constructed towering pyramids, vast palaces, and grand ball courts, often centered around enormous plazas that served as gathering places for religious ceremonies and civic events. The cities were marvels of engineering, with complex networks of roads, reservoirs, and canals that allowed for effective water management in the region's tropical climate. In places like Tikal, Palenque, and Copan, the Maya built towering structures that still stand today, evidence of their architectural prowess and dedication to their gods. Yet, despite these monumental achievements, the Maya civilization eventually began to decline. By the end of the 9th century, many of the great Maya cities of the southern lowlands had been abandoned, their towering pyramids and intricate stone carvings left to be consumed by the jungle. The reasons for this collapse have been the subject of much debate and speculation. Some historians argue that the decline was a result of environmental factors, such as prolonged droughts that led to crop failure and water shortages, while others suggest that the collapse was due to political instability, warfare, or social unrest. One of the most compelling theories about the fall of the Maya centers on environmental degradation. The Maya civilization was built around a complex agricultural system that relied on the fertile lands of the lowland jungles. However, this system also placed immense pressure on the environment. Deforestation, caused by the clearing of land for agriculture and the construction of buildings, may have led to soil erosion, making it more difficult to grow crops and sustain large populations. Additionally, the Maya relied on an intricate system of reservoirs and canals to manage their water supply. However, prolonged droughts, which are thought to have occurred during the Terminal Classic period, circa 750 to 900 CE, would have severely impacted these water systems, leading to a collapse of agricultural production and ultimately, a decline in population. Without a reliable water source, the Maya cities would have been unable to support their growing population, and the political and social structures of these city-states would have begun to unravel. However, environmental factors alone may not explain the full extent of the Maya collapse. Political instability and internal strife also likely played significant roles. The Maya civilization was made up of a series of independent city-states, each with its own ruler, who was often seen as a divine figure. These rulers competed for power and resources, and warfare between rival cities was common. The rise of powerful city-states, such as Tikal, and the fall of others, such as Köpen, were often linked to the shifting balance of power between these competing kingdoms. As the political landscape grew more unstable, the city-states began to fracture, and alliances that had once held the civilization together began to break down. The Maya were also deeply entrenched in religious and ritual practices, and their cities were built around elaborate temples and ball courts, which served as spaces for religious ceremonies, including human sacrifice. These practices were often tied to the idea of maintaining cosmic balance and ensuring the favor of the gods. As cities began to face economic and environmental crises, it is possible that these religious institutions began to lose their power, further weakening the political structure of the civilization. Social unrest, caused by hunger, warfare, and the breakdown of central authority, may have led to a widespread collapse of Maya society, as the inhabitants of the cities abandoned their homes in search of better living conditions. The fall of the southern cities of the Maya civilization was not the end of the Maya. While many of the great cities of the southern lowlands were abandoned, the northern cities, such as Chichen Itza, continued to thrive for several more centuries. Chichen Itza, in particular, became a powerful city-state, known for its impressive architecture, including the Pyramid of Kukulkan, a massive step pyramid that is aligned with the sun during the equinox. Chichen Itza's prosperity continued into the 10th century, but like the cities before it, the rise of Chichen Itza was followed by its eventual decline. By the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century, the Maya civilization was already fragmented, with some cities in the south in ruins and others in the north in decline. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas in the early 16th century, they encountered a world that was vastly different from the one they had imagined. The Maya, despite their long history, were not the wealthy, centralized empire the Spanish had expected, but a collection of fragmented and often war-torn city-states. The Maya were also among the most resistant of the indigenous peoples to Spanish conquest. While the Aztecs and Incas were quickly overrun by the superior weaponry and tactics of the Spanish conquistadors, the Maya fought fiercely to protect their lands and cultures. It wasn't until the late 17th century that the last Maya city-state, Tayasal, fell to the Spanish, but by that time, the Maya civilization as a whole had already been irrevocably altered by disease, warfare, and cultural assimilation. The ruins of the great Maya cities lay silent for centuries, hidden beneath the dense foliage of the jungle. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, explorers and archaeologists began to uncover these lost cities, revealing the grandeur of the Maya civilization once more. In 1841, the American explorer John Lloyd Stevens, along with the British artist Frederick Catherwood, visited the ruins of Köpen, one of the most significant Maya cities in the southern lowlands. Their detailed descriptions and drawings sparked a renewed interest in Maya archaeology, and over the decades, other explorers and archaeologists, such as Sylvanus Morley and George Fraser, would follow in their footsteps, uncovering the secrets of the ancient cities. The discovery of these lost cities was not just a triumph of archaeology, but also a reawakening of the Maya civilization's cultural significance. Today, the ruins of cities like Tikal, Palenque, and Köpen are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and the study of the Maya continues to yield important insights into the civilization's history, social structure, and technological achievements. Modern archaeologists have uncovered evidence of the Maya's advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and writing. The Maya developed an intricate system of hieroglyphic writing, which has allowed scholars to learn more about their history, religion, and society. The Maya also developed a sophisticated calendar system, which was more accurate than the European calendar of the time, and they built remarkable observatories that allowed them to track the movements of the stars and planets. The legacy of the Maya civilization is not only seen in the ruins of their cities, but also in the modern descendants of the Maya people, who continue to live in the region. These contemporary Maya retain many of the cultural traditions and languages of their ancestors, even as they navigate the challenges of modernity. The Mayas' enduring influence on the region's culture, art, and identity is a testament to their resilience and their ability to adapt to changing circumstances, even as their ancient cities crumbled and faded into the jungle. The Maya civilization's rise and fall is a story of human achievement and decline, of glory and loss, but also of resilience and rebirth. The great cities may have been abandoned, but the legacy of the Maya lives on, not just in the ruins that remain, but in the people and cultures that continue to honor their ancient heritage. And as we uncover more of their secrets, we come to realize that the story of the Maya is far from finished. The cities may have been lost to the jungle, but the knowledge, the wisdom, and the spirit of the Maya continue to shape the world today. In the heart of the African continent, where vast deserts meet lush savannas, a once thriving kingdom once ruled over the land, its influence stretching across much of West Africa. The story of the Kingdom of Kush is one of mystery, grandeur, and forgotten legacy. Long overshadowed by the more famous civilizations of ancient Egypt, the Kingdom of Kush often exists in the periphery of historical accounts. Yet, this ancient empire, with its powerful rulers and rich culture, played a vital role in shaping the ancient world. Its capital, Nepeta, later replaced by Meroe, became the focal point of an empire whose kings and queens left an indelible mark on the history of Africa and the ancient Near East. The Kingdom of Kush is often regarded as one of the great ancient African civilizations, although its achievements have been overshadowed by the dominance of Egypt in the annals of history. The Kushites, as they came to be known, lived along the Nile River to the south of Egypt, in what is now modern-day Sudan. The kingdom's origins date back to the early Bronze Age, around 2000 BCE, and it would endure for over 1,000 years, flourishing at various points in history as a regional power. Initially, Kush was a small, semi-independent kingdom that existed alongside ancient Egypt. The relationship between the two civilizations was complex, sometimes marked by cooperation, and at other times by fierce competition. The Kingdom of Kush was located at the southern borders of Egypt, in an area known as Nubia. Nubia, with its wealth of gold, precious stones, and natural resources, was a land that Egypt both coveted and feared. While Egypt's dominance was undeniable, the people of Kush were no strangers to the power struggles that shaped the history of the ancient world. The proximity of Kush to Egypt meant that their destinies were often intertwined, and at times, Kush became a formidable rival to Egypt's power. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Kingdom of Kush is its ability to maintain its independence and even challenge Egypt in ways that no other neighboring kingdom ever did. During periods of Egyptian weakness, the Kushites took advantage of the political instability in Egypt and expanded their territory. But it was during the 25th dynasty of Egypt, when the Kushite kings, often referred to as the Kushite pharaohs, ruled over Egypt itself, that the kingdom's power truly peaked. The most famous of these rulers was Pi, who in the 8th century BCE successfully invaded Egypt, defeating the local Egyptian dynasties and establishing the 25th dynasty. This event marked the first time in history that the Kingdom of Kush had conquered Egypt, and it would prove to be a pivotal moment in both Egyptian and Kushite history. Pi's rule was a turning point, as he brought stability to Egypt, which had been racked by political fragmentation and internal strife. Under Pi and his successors, the Kushite pharaohs sought to restore Egypt to its former glory, embracing Egyptian culture and religious practices while maintaining their own distinct Nubian identity. The Kushite dynasty ruled Egypt for nearly a century, a period often referred to as the Kushite dynasty or the 25th dynasty. While the Kushite pharaohs were influenced by Egyptian culture, they also made significant contributions to the ancient world. The kingdom's rulers were great builders, and many of their monuments and temples still stand today. One of the most iconic symbols of Kushite rule is the pyramid. The Kushites, unlike the Egyptians, built smaller but more numerous pyramids, many of which can still be seen today in the ancient royal cemetery of Meroe. These pyramids, with their distinctive steep sides, were built to house the tombs of Kushite kings and queens. The city of Meroe, which replaced Nepeta as the capital of the Kingdom of Kush around the 4th century BCE, became a thriving center of commerce and culture. Meroe was a place of great wealth, where traders from across Africa, the Mediterranean, and Asia exchanged goods. The city was also home to a powerful military, which helped to defend the kingdom from external threats, including the Romans, who sought to control the trade routes that passed through Kushite territory. The Kushites were also known for their advanced ironworking technology. The Kingdom of Kush was one of the earliest centers of iron production in Africa, and the Kushites' ability to forge iron tools and weapons played a significant role in their military success. Ironworking was not only a practical innovation, but it also had cultural significance, as it became an important part of the kingdom's identity. The Kushites believed that iron was a sacred metal, and its use was closely tied to religious rituals and ceremonies. The ironworking skills of the Kushites were highly prized, and they became a major supplier of iron to other ancient civilizations. Despite the wealth and power of the Kingdom of Kush, it was not immune to the forces of history. Over time, the kingdom began to face challenges from both internal and external forces. One of the major challenges faced by the Kingdom of Kush was its inability to maintain its hold over Egypt. After a series of Kushite pharaohs, including Taharqa and Shabaka, the 25th dynasty eventually fell to the Assyrians, who invaded Egypt in the 7th century BCE. The Assyrians, under their king Esarhaddon, defeated the Kushites, driving them out of Egypt and bringing an end to the Kushite dynasty. Although the Kushites were no longer able to control Egypt, they retained their power in Nubia, and Meroe continued to be a thriving center of culture and trade. As the Kingdom of Kush entered its later years, it faced increased pressure from both the Romans and the neighboring kingdoms of the Nile Valley. The Romans, in particular, posed a significant threat to Kushite sovereignty, as they sought to expand their empire into North Africa and the Near East. The Roman Empire, having conquered Egypt, sought to control the trade routes that passed through Nubia, and they eventually made several attempts to conquer Meroe. The Kushites resisted Roman incursions, and despite some setbacks, they managed to maintain their independence for several more centuries. However, by the 4th century CE, the Kingdom of Kush was beginning to decline. Various factors contributed to its eventual collapse, including internal conflict, economic difficulties, and invasions from neighboring peoples. By the time of the 5th century CE, the Kingdom of Kush had largely disappeared from the historical record, its cities falling into ruin and its culture slowly fading into obscurity. Yet, despite its decline, the legacy of the Kingdom of Kush endured, its contributions to the ancient world leaving a lasting impact. The Kingdom of Kush was one of the great African civilizations, a powerful kingdom that stood at the crossroads of Africa and the ancient Mediterranean world. While it may not have received the same attention as ancient Egypt, its cultural, technological, and military achievements were no less impressive. The Kushites built monumental structures, developed advanced technologies, and created a rich cultural heritage that continues to be studied and admired today. The discovery of the ruins of Meroe and the pyramids of Napata has shed light on the greatness of the Kingdom of Kush, revealing the remarkable accomplishments of this ancient civilization. Modern archaeologists and historians continue to uncover new insights into the history of Kush, uncovering forgotten kings and queens, and deciphering the kingdom's rich artistic and architectural legacy. Through their efforts, the story of the Kingdom of Kush is slowly being brought into the light, and its place in the history of the ancient world is finally being recognized. The Kingdom of Kush may have faded from the pages of history, but its legacy lives on. The pyramids of Meroe stand as silent witnesses to the grandeur of a civilization that once rivaled the great powers of the ancient world. The ironwork of the Kushites, their remarkable buildings, and their powerful rulers continue to inspire awe and wonder. The Kingdom of Kush may have disappeared, but its contributions to the cultural and technological development of the ancient world will never be forgotten. In the shifting sands of time, there are stories of forgotten civilizations that once held the world in their grasp, but have since been lost to the winds of history. One such civilization is the ancient city of Petra, a place of extraordinary beauty and mystery, carved into the very rock of the earth itself. Known as the Rose City for the color of the stone from which it was carved, Petra has captivated explorers, archaeologists, and historians for centuries. Yet, the true story of Petra is far more complex than the images of grand facades and narrow canyons that we often associate with it. Petra was not just a marvel of architecture and engineering, but also a symbol of the rise and fall of empires, the intersection of cultures, and the enduring human desire to create something lasting in a world defined by impermanence. Petra's origins stretch back to the 6th century BCE, when it was established by the Nabatean people, a nomadic Arab tribe that first settled in the area. The Nabateans were skilled traders who recognized the strategic importance of Petra's location. Situated at the crossroads of several important trade routes, Petra was ideally positioned to control the trade of spices, incense, and other valuable goods between Arabia, Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia. Over time, the Nabateans transformed Petra from a simple trading post into one of the most important cities of the ancient world. By the 1st century BCE, Petra had become the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, a thriving city-state that controlled vast territories in the Arabian desert and beyond. What set Petra apart from other ancient cities was its stunning architecture, which was not built with bricks or stone blocks, but was literally carved into the rock itself. The city's buildings, tombs, temples, and even its water system were all hewn from the pink sandstone cliffs that surround the city. This unique style of architecture, known as rock-cut architecture, is one of the defining features of Petra, and it has earned the city a place on the UNESCO World Heritage List. The most famous of Petra's structures is the Treasury, or Al-Khazna, a magnificent facade that stands more than 40 meters tall. Its intricate carvings and grand design make it one of the most iconic monuments in the ancient world, yet it is just one of many such buildings that the landscape of Petra. The Nabateans were not just skilled builders. They were also masters of water management. In the arid desert environment of Petra, where water was scarce, the Nabateans developed an ingenious system of water channels, cisterns, and reservoirs that allowed them to collect and store water for use in the city. This complex system not only ensured a steady water supply for the people of Petra, but also allowed the city to thrive in an otherwise inhospitable environment. The ability to harness water in such a dry and unforgiving land was a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the Nabateans, and it was one of the key factors that allowed Petra to become a bustling metropolis. Petra's wealth and strategic location made it a prime target for conquest. In the 2nd century CE, the city fell under the control of the Roman Empire. The Romans, who had been trading with Petra for centuries, recognized the city's importance and incorporated it into their empire. Under Roman rule, Petra continued to thrive, though its political and cultural identity began to shift. The Nabatean kingdom was absorbed into the Roman province of Arabia Petrea, and Petra became a key Roman trading hub. Many of the city's most famous structures, including the Roman-style theater and the colonnaded street, were built during this period. Yet, despite the grandeur of Roman Petra, the city's identity remained strongly tied to its Nabatean roots, and it continued to be a melting pot of cultures, blending Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and Arabian influences. However, Petra's glory days were not to last forever. By the 4th century CE, the Roman Empire began to weaken, and Petra, like many other cities in the region, fell into decline. Several factors contributed to the city's fall, including a series of devastating earthquakes, changes in trade routes, and the rise of new powers in the region. The decline of Petra was gradual, but by the 7th century, the city had been largely abandoned. Over the centuries, Petra was forgotten by the outside world, hidden away in the remote desert, its secrets buried beneath the shifting sands. It wasn't until the 19th century that Petra was rediscovered by the West. In 1812, Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, disguised as an Arab trader, ventured into the forgotten city. His expedition was a turning point in the history of Petra's rediscovery, and Burckhardt's accounts of the city sparked a renewed interest in the ancient site. Since then, archaeologists and explorers from around the world have worked to uncover the secrets of Petra, revealing a city that had been lost to time but whose significance and beauty had never been forgotten. The rediscovery of Petra in the modern era has brought with it a sense of awe and wonder. Visitors to the site today are still struck by the sheer scale and intricacy of the city's architecture. The way in which the Nabateans were able to carve such elaborate facades and buildings from solid rock, using only rudimentary tools, continues to astonish archaeologists and engineers alike. The treasury, with its detailed carvings of gods, animals, and mythical creatures, stands as a testament to the skill and artistry of the Nabatean people. Yet, as impressive as Petra's buildings are, it is the city's sense of mystery that continues to captivate those who visit it. While much has been uncovered about Petra's history, there is still much that remains unknown. The Nabateans themselves left behind few written records, and much of what we know about them comes from the accounts of outsiders, such as the Greeks and Romans. Even the meaning of Petra's name is uncertain, and there are many theories about the origins of the city and its people. Some scholars believe that the Nabateans were originally a Bedouin tribe who migrated to the region from the Arabian Peninsula, while others argue that they were the descendants of ancient Semitic peoples who had lived in the area for millennia. The true origins of Petra remain one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. One of the most enduring mysteries of Petra is its sudden abandonment. While much of the city's decline can be attributed to external factors, such as the shifting of trade routes and the weakening of Roman power, the abruptness with which the city was abandoned has led to speculation that there may have been other, more mysterious causes. Some historians suggest that the city's fall may have been linked to the rise of Islam in the 7th century, as the Arabs swept through the region, bringing with them new political and religious ideologies. Others propose that Petra's isolation, coupled with its vulnerability to earthquakes and other natural disasters, may have led to its abandonment. Whatever the cause, the story of Petra's disappearance is as enigmatic as the city itself. Today, Petra remains one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, attracting millions of visitors each year. The city's dramatic landscapes, with its narrow gorges and towering cliffs, continue to inspire awe, while the remnants of its ancient buildings offer a glimpse into a civilization that was once at the height of its power. The Rose City, as it is often called, remains a symbol of human creativity, resilience, and the timeless desire to build something lasting in a world that is constantly changing. The story of Petra is not just the story of a city. It is the story of a civilization that rose from the desert, flourished in the heart of the ancient world, and eventually faded into obscurity. It is a reminder that even the greatest empires are not immune to the forces of time and change, and that the rise and fall of civilizations is a cycle that has played out throughout human history. Petra's lost city, with its rock-cut tombs, temples, and palaces, remains a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the people who built it. But it is also a symbol of the fragility of human achievement and the enduring mystery that surrounds all the forgotten places of the ancient world. As long as Petra stands, it will continue to capture the imagination of those who seek to understand the secrets of the past and to wonder at the lives that once flourished in the shadows of its rose-colored cliffs. Section 13 KO Expand Caro 1500 plus words Ma English Ma without any headings in the shadow of the towering Andes, nestled among the rugged mountain peaks and the sweeping valleys of modern-day Peru, lies one of the most profound mysteries of the ancient world. Machu Picchu, a city seemingly suspended between the earth and sky, is a symbol of both the brilliance and the enigma of the Inca civilization. With its awe-inspiring stone architecture, intricate agricultural terraces, and celestial alignments, Machu Picchu stands as a testament to the power, ingenuity, and mysterious demise of the Incas, one of the greatest empires that ever existed. But despite its prominence today, the true purpose of Machu Picchu and the reasons for its construction and eventual abandonment remain subjects of deep intrigue. Machu Picchu was built in the 15th century by the Inca Emperor Pachacuti, whose reign marked the beginning of the Inca Empire's golden age. The site itself is located in a remote and inaccessible part of the Andes, perched high above the Urubamba River. The Inca civilization, which emerged in the early 15th century and lasted until the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, was known for its remarkable engineering, agricultural techniques, and a highly organized social and political system. The Incas were master builders who constructed vast road networks, impressive temples, and terraced mountainsides to support their growing population. Yet, Machu Picchu stands out even among the many other Inca sites, not only because of its breathtaking beauty, but because of the questions that surround its existence. The discovery of Machu Picchu by the outside world in 1911, when American explorer Hiram Bingham led an expedition to the site, brought the lost city to international attention. However, Long before Bingham's arrival, the city had been hidden from the eyes of all but a few locals, preserved in its natural setting. The name Machu Picchu, which means Old Peak in the Quechua language, is fitting, as the site rests high on a mountain, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. For centuries, it had remained shrouded in mystery, known only to the indigenous people of the region. Machu Picchu's discovery changed the course of archaeology and history. But while the site became famous almost overnight, many questions remained unanswered. Why was such a grand city built in such a remote location? What was its true purpose? How did the Incas manage to construct such a sophisticated site in such an inhospitable environment? And most intriguingly of all, why did they abandon it so abruptly, leaving it to be reclaimed by the jungle? One of the most captivating aspects of Machu Picchu is its location. The site is located at an altitude of over 2,400 meters, perched on a mountain ridge that rises above the surrounding cloud forest. The landscape is dramatic, with steep cliffs and panoramic views of the surrounding valleys. The Incas were known for their close connection to the natural world, and Machu Picchu seems to have been intentionally placed to align with both the land and the heavens. The city is built in such a way that it seems to blend seamlessly into its surroundings, with the stone structures appearing to rise organically from the mountainside. Machu Picchu is divided into several distinct areas, each serving a specific purpose. At the heart of the city lies the Intihuatana, a ritual stone that is thought to have been used for astronomical and religious purposes. The Intihuatana is often described as a sundial, though its exact function is still debated. Some believe that it was used to mark the position of the sun at key times of the year, helping to guide agricultural practices and religious ceremonies. Others suggest that it was used as a celestial observatory, allowing the Incas to track the movements of the stars and planets. The precise alignment of the Intihuatana with the surrounding mountains and the path of the sun suggests that the Inca civilization was highly sophisticated in their understanding of astronomy, which played an important role in their religious practices. In addition to the Intihuatana, Machu Picchu contains several temples, including the Temple of the Sun, which is one of the most important structures on the site. The Temple of the Sun is built with an extraordinary precision, using large stones that fit together so perfectly that not even a knife blade can be inserted between them. This construction technique, known as ashlar masonry, is a hallmark of Inca engineering and demonstrates their ability to build with incredible precision without the use of mortar. The temple is thought to have been used for religious rituals, particularly those related to the sun, which was one of the most important deities in the Inca pantheon. The fact that the temple is aligned with the solstices and equinoxes suggests that it played a significant role in marking the passage of time and the cycles of nature. Machu Picchu also contains a series of agricultural terraces, which are an extraordinary feat of engineering. The terraces, which were carved into the mountainside, were used to cultivate crops in the harsh Andean environment. The Incas developed a highly efficient system of terracing that allowed them to grow a wide variety of crops, including maize, potatoes, and quinoa, at high altitudes. The terraces also helped to prevent erosion and ensured that water was properly channeled to the crops. The agricultural terraces of Machu Picchu are a testament to the Incas' ingenuity and their ability to adapt to the challenging environment of the Andes. Despite the architectural and agricultural marvels that Machu Picchu represents, it is the purpose of the site that remains one of the greatest mysteries. Scholars have long debated whether Machu Picchu was a royal retreat, a religious site, or a military outpost. Some argue that it was built as a royal palace for Pachacuti, the Inca emperor, who was known for his military conquests and his efforts to expand the empire. The site's isolated location and its grandeur suggest that it could have been a royal retreat, a place where the emperor could escape the pressures of ruling and connect with the natural world. Others, however, believe that Machu Picchu was a religious center, dedicated to the worship of the sun and other deities. The alignment of the buildings and the Intihuatana with celestial events supports this theory, suggesting that the site may have been a place for astronomical observation and religious ceremonies. Another theory proposes that Machu Picchu was a military outpost, strategically located to protect the Inca heartland from invaders. The site's elevated position and its proximity to important trade routes would have made it an ideal location for monitoring and defending the surrounding region. However, there is little evidence to support this theory, and it is generally considered less plausible than the ideas of Machu Picchu as a royal or religious center. Adding to the mystery of Machu Picchu is the question of why it was abandoned. The site was largely forgotten by the outside world after the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, and it wasn't until the early 20th century that it was rediscovered. The reason for its abandonment remains unclear, though there are several theories. One possibility is that the city was abandoned due to the Spanish conquest, as the Incas retreated into the more remote regions of the Andes to escape Spanish forces. Another theory suggests that the site was abandoned due to internal strife or a shift in political power. Still, other scholars propose that the site was abandoned because of environmental factors, such as drought or resource depletion. Whatever the reason, the fact that Machu Picchu was left to the jungle for centuries only adds to its mystique. The rediscovery of Machu Picchu in the 20th century brought with it a renewed interest in the Inca civilization and its legacy. Since then, the site has become one of the most visited tourist destinations in the world, drawing millions of visitors each year. The mystery of Machu Picchu continues to capture the imagination of people from all over the world, and archaeologists and historians continue to study the site in an attempt to unravel its many secrets. Yet, despite decades of research, Machu Picchu remains a symbol of the mysteries of the past, a place where the lines between history, legend, and myth are blurred. Machu Picchu's grandeur, its remarkable engineering, and its deep connection to the natural world all serve as a reminder of the Inca civilization's extraordinary achievements. But it is the unanswered questions surrounding the site, the purpose of its construction, the reason for its abandonment, and the enduring mystery of its rediscovery that ensure its place as one of the most enigmatic and captivating places on Earth. In the silence of the high Andes, Machu Picchu continues to speak to us, offering glimpses of a lost world and a civilization that, despite the passage of centuries, has not been forgotten. In the vast, uncharted wilderness of the South American rainforest, nestled along the banks of the Amazon River, there lies a mystery that has intrigued explorers, scientists, and historians for centuries. Deep within this dense jungle, long hidden beneath layers of earth and vines, there is evidence of an ancient civilization that once thrived in this seemingly impenetrable region. This civilization, known as the City of Z, remains one of the most fascinating and elusive chapters in the history of exploration. Its existence is wrapped in the kind of mystery that has inspired countless expeditions, myths, and legends, but the city itself remains lost to the world, its secrets buried in the jungle's thick embrace. The story of the City of Z begins in the early 20th century, when a British explorer named Percy Harrison Fawcett became captivated by the idea of an ancient city hidden somewhere in the Amazon basin. Fawcett, an experienced geographer and surveyor, had traveled extensively in South America and was well-versed in the region's topography and cultures. In his research, Fawcett came across references to a city known as Z, a fabled place said to be the heart of a great civilization that predated the arrival of the Europeans. These accounts, combined with the mysterious writings of early explorers and indigenous tribes, led Fawcett to believe that there was indeed a lost city waiting to be discovered in the depths of the jungle. His obsession with finding this lost city would lead him on an epic journey that would ultimately consume him and his expedition team. Fawcett's journey to find the City of Z began in 1920, when he first ventured into the Amazon on an official British government survey. During this mission, Fawcett came across what he described as strange ruins and evidence of ancient construction deep within the jungle. The structures he observed were unlike anything he had ever seen before. Large, intricately built stone walls, carefully arranged pathways, and other features that suggested a highly organized civilization had once lived in the region. This discovery, however, only deepened the mystery. No one had any idea who could have built such structures, and the further Fawcett delved into the jungle, the more convinced he became that he was on the trail of something extraordinary. As Fawcett continued his expeditions, he encountered local tribes who spoke of ancient cities and artifacts, but the indigenous people were often reluctant to share their knowledge with outsiders. In particular, the City of Z, as Fawcett came to call it, seemed to exist only in vague legends and rumors. Still, Fawcett believed that the city, and the great civilization that had once inhabited it, was real. His conviction grew stronger with each piece of evidence he uncovered. He even published several books about his theories, gaining attention and acclaim in the world of exploration. Yet, despite the attention his work received, the city of Z remained elusive. In 1925, Fawcett embarked on what would become his final and most ambitious expedition to find the city of Z. He was accompanied by his son, Jack, and his friend, Raleigh Rimmel, on a journey that would take them deep into the unexplored heart of the Amazon. Their mission was to follow Fawcett's carefully crafted map, which he believed led directly to the lost city. As they ventured further into the jungle, they encountered treacherous conditions, hostile wildlife, and dense vegetation that made progress slow and difficult. Yet Fawcett remained determined, believing that the city of Z was within his grasp. However, the expedition would not be successful. In 1925, Fawcett and his companions vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a trail of unanswered questions. The disappearance of Percy Harrison Fawcett sparked a wave of speculation and intrigue. What had happened to the famous explorer and his team? Were they lost to the jungle, or had they uncovered the city of Z before disappearing? For years, the fate of Fawcett and his expedition remained a mystery, with numerous theories suggesting that they had been attacked by hostile tribes, succumbed to disease, or simply gotten lost in the vast, unforgiving terrain. Fawcett's disappearance only served to deepen the allure of the city of Z, and in the decades that followed, numerous other expeditions were launched in an attempt to locate the lost city. Some of these expeditions were undertaken by Fawcett's own family members, who were determined to uncover the truth behind his disappearance. But all of these attempts came to naught. Despite the failure of so many expeditions, Fawcett's belief in the existence of the city of Z never wavered, and over the years more evidence surfaced that seemed to support his theory. Archaeologists and explorers uncovered ancient ruins in the Amazon that appeared to be far more advanced than anything the indigenous tribes of the region could have built. The discovery of large earthworks, ceremonial centers, and advanced agricultural systems suggested that there had once been a civilization in the Amazon that was capable of creating complex infrastructure. These findings, combined with Fawcett's writings and the stories of indigenous tribes, painted a picture of a highly advanced society that had somehow managed to thrive in one of the most inhospitable regions of the world. One of the most important discoveries in the search for the city of Z came in the 1980s, when a team of researchers using satellite imagery uncovered the existence of large, geometric structures hidden deep within the jungle. These structures, which appeared to be large, man-made earthworks, were unlike anything that had been previously discovered in the Amazon. The discovery of these structures suggested that there had indeed been a large, organized civilization in the region, and they raised new questions about the extent of ancient human activity in the Amazon basin. Could these earthworks be remnants of the city of Z? Could they represent the long-sought civilization that Fawcett had dedicated his life to finding? The use of satellite technology has since revolutionized the search for the city of Z. In recent years, a new generation of explorers and archaeologists has used high-resolution satellite images, LiDAR, light detection and ranging, and ground-penetrating radar to uncover even more evidence of ancient civilizations in the Amazon. These techniques have revealed hidden cities, roads, and networks of canals that suggest that the region was once home to sophisticated urban centers. The evidence uncovered by these modern technologies has led some scholars to reconsider the long-held belief that the Amazon was an empty, uninhabited wilderness before the arrival of Europeans. Instead, it seems that the Amazon was once home to thriving civilizations that were capable of creating complex social structures and technological innovations. One of the most significant findings came in 2018, when archaeologists uncovered evidence of an ancient city near the modern-day border between Brazil and Bolivia. The city, which was revealed through the use of LiDAR technology, was found to contain hundreds of structures, including pyramids, plazas, and roads. This discovery has been hailed as one of the most important archaeological finds of the 21st century, as it suggests that there were large, advanced civilizations living in the Amazon long before the arrival of Europeans. The city's discovery has reignited interest in the city of Z and has provided new clues about the civilizations that once inhabited the region. Despite these breakthroughs, the city of Z itself remains elusive. No one has yet uncovered the exact location of Fawcett's lost city, and the search for it continues to this day. Some believe that the city may have been located near the modern-day city of Zupuri, in western Brazil, while others argue that it may lie further to the north or east, in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. The search for the city of Z is far from over, and each new discovery brings us one step closer to understanding the true nature of the ancient civilizations that once flourished in the Amazon. The story of the city of Z is not just about a lost city. It is about the enduring human quest for knowledge and the desire to uncover the mysteries of the past. It is a story of adventure, perseverance, and the determination to solve a puzzle that has baffled explorers for centuries. But it is also a story about the Amazon itself, a vast and mysterious region that continues to surprise us with its secrets. The jungles of the Amazon are often seen as a place of danger and isolation, yet they are also a place of incredible biodiversity, ancient cultures, and untold stories. The search for the city of Z is a reminder that, no matter how much we think we know, there are always more mysteries to be uncovered, and the past, like the jungle, is full of surprises waiting to be discovered. As we continue to explore the Amazon and search for the city of Z, it is important to remember that this is not just a story of lost treasure or forgotten civilizations. It is a story of respect for the land, the people, and the culture of the indigenous tribes that have lived in the Amazon for thousands of years. The city of Z, if it exists, is not merely a relic of the past. It is a part of the living history of the region. The search for it is not just an archaeological pursuit, but a journey of understanding and discovery that ties together the past and the present. The mystery of the city of Z continues to captivate us, and perhaps one day, the jungle will reveal its secrets, just as it revealed the paths of long-lost cities hidden beneath its dense canopy. Until then, the city of Z remains a symbol of the mysteries of the Amazon, a reminder that there is always more to learn about the world we live in and the civilizations that once shaped it. At the heart of Eastern Europe, hidden beneath the crumbling facades of ancient cities and the tangled wilderness of the Carpathian Mountains, lies a tale so shrouded in mystery that it continues to captivate the minds of historians and adventurers alike. The story of Transylvania, often overshadowed by the myth of Count Dracula and its association with folklore and superstition, is one of profound historical significance. It is a land where powerful kingdoms rose and fell, where empires clashed, and where the echoes of ancient civilizations still resonate through the land. Yet, despite its rich history, Transylvania remains a region surrounded by enigma, with many aspects of its past lost to time and myth. Transylvania, located in the heart of modern-day Romania, has always been a crossroads of cultures, a melting pot of different peoples and ideas. For centuries, it stood at the center of empires and kingdoms, and its history is deeply intertwined with that of the surrounding regions. The story of Transylvania is not just the story of a land, but of the complex interactions between various ethnic groups, the rise and fall of dynasties, and the continuous struggle for power that defined this land's destiny. Transylvania's landscape is as varied as its history, from the rugged peaks of the Carpathian Mountains that form its natural barrier to the fertile plains that stretch towards the Danube River. But it is not just the geography that makes Transylvania unique. It is the people who have called it home and the cultures that have left their mark on this enigmatic land. The ancient roots of Transylvania date back to the earliest times of human civilization. Archaeological evidence shows that the region was inhabited as early as the Bronze Age, with traces of advanced societies emerging over 3,000 years ago. The Dacians, an ancient people of Indo-European origin, were the first known inhabitants of the region. They were skilled in metallurgy and had a rich culture, leaving behind impressive fortresses and artifacts. The Dacians played a significant role in the ancient history of Transylvania, but their civilization was eventually overrun by the expanding Roman Empire. In 106 AD, the Roman Emperor Trajan launched a series of campaigns to conquer Dacia, and after a brutal war, the Dacians were defeated. The Roman Empire annexed Dacia, making it a province and integrating the region into the vast Roman Empire. The Romanization of Transylvania left a lasting legacy on the region, influencing its culture, language, and infrastructure. Roman roads, fortifications, and settlements were established across the land, and the Roman Empire brought with it advanced technologies, such as aqueducts, baths, and more sophisticated agricultural techniques. Roman influence is still visible in Transylvania today, with remnants of Roman architecture scattered across the region. However, the Roman presence in Transylvania was short-lived. In the early 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire faced internal and external threats, and in 271 AD, the Romans withdrew from Dacia, leaving the region to fall into a period of instability and decline. After the Roman withdrawal, Transylvania became a battleground for various barbarian tribes, including the Goths, Huns, and Avars, who sought to conquer and control the region. This period of turmoil lasted for centuries, with various tribes vying for control over Transylvania. However, despite the invasions and conflicts, the region's strategic importance remained, and over time, the Transylvanian landscape began to take shape as a distinct entity. The medieval period saw the rise of powerful kingdoms and principalities in Transylvania, each vying for control over the region. The Hungarian kingdom, which had gained prominence in Central Europe, claimed Transylvania as part of its domain in the 11th century. This marked the beginning of a long period of Hungarian dominance in the region. During the Middle Ages, Transylvania became an important part of the Kingdom of Hungary, and its inhabitants, primarily of Hungarian, Saxon, and Romanian descent, coexisted in a complex and often uneasy relationship. The Hungarian crown established several fortresses and towns throughout Transylvania, and the region became a crucial military and economic hub in the kingdom. However, Transylvania's position on the fringes of empires and kingdoms meant that it was often a target for invasions. The Mongols, in the 13th century, devastated much of Transylvania, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Despite this, the region gradually recovered and continued to grow in importance. The Hungarian nobility, along with German settlers known as Saxons, helped rebuild the region, and Transylvania began to develop a distinct cultural identity. Over the centuries, the region became a center for trade, agriculture, and craftsmanship, with the Saxon settlers establishing many of the towns and villages that still stand today. The most enduring image of Transylvania in the Western imagination, however, comes from the 15th century, during the reign of Vlad III, also known as Vlad the Impaler. Vlad III, often referred to as Dracula, became infamous for his brutal and sadistic rule over the region of Wallachia. His legacy as a ruthless leader, who employed terror and cruelty to maintain control over his subjects and enemies, has been immortalized in literature and folklore, most famously in Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. Vlad's reign was marked by violence, including his notorious method of impaling his enemies on long wooden stakes. While his actions may have been exaggerated in later retellings, Vlad the Impaler's name became synonymous with the terror of the region. However, the association between Vlad the Impaler and Transylvania is often misleading. Vlad ruled over Wallachia, a neighboring region to Transylvania, and while he spent some time in Transylvanian fortresses and was involved in conflicts with Hungarian rulers, he was not the ruler of Transylvania itself. Yet, the connection between Dracula and Transylvania has become so ingrained in popular culture that it continues to overshadow the region's more complex history. In reality, Transylvania in the 15th century was a region of relative peace and prosperity, particularly when compared to the surrounding territories, which were plagued by wars and invasions. During the Renaissance, Transylvania became a key player in the politics of Central and Eastern Europe. The region's strategic location between the Ottoman Empire and the Habsburg Empire made it a crucial battleground in the wars of succession, territorial expansion, and political maneuvering. Throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, Transylvania was a semi-autonomous principality, often shifting its allegiances between Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and the Habsburgs. The region's political volatility, along with its economic prosperity, allowed it to become a center for cultural exchange, with ideas and innovations flowing from both the West and the East. By the 18th century, however, Transylvania became part of the Austrian Empire, and its status as an autonomous principality was gradually diminished. Under Habsburg rule, Transylvania's political landscape shifted once again. The Austrians sought to integrate Transylvania into their empire, undermining the power of the local nobility and introducing a more centralized administration. The region's diverse population, which included Hungarians, Romanians, Saxons, and others, continued to coexist in a fragile peace, although tensions often simmered beneath the surface. Transylvania's history in the 19th and 20th centuries was shaped by the rise of nationalism and the decline of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The region's ethnic makeup became a point of contention as Romanians, Hungarians, and other groups sought to assert their dominance. Following World War I, the Treaty of Trianon in 1920 saw Transylvania incorporated into Romania, a move that further complicated the region's ethnic and political dynamics. Tensions between Romanians and Hungarians flared in the years following the treaty, as both groups sought to assert their claims to the region. In the decades that followed, Transylvania became part of Romania under Soviet influence, enduring the rise of communist rule under Nicolae Ceausescu. The communist regime, with its focus on industrialization and modernization, had a significant impact on the landscape and culture of Transylvania, leading to a loss of much of its traditional architecture and way of life. Ceausescu's policies of forced urbanization and collectivization left a lasting scar on the region, and Transylvania's once thriving rural communities were reshaped by the political winds of the 20th century. Today, Transylvania remains one of the most fascinating and complex regions in Europe. Its history is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people, who have lived through centuries of invasions, conquests, and political upheavals. The region's rich cultural heritage, with its blend of Hungarian, Romanian, and Saxon influences, continues to be a defining characteristic of its identity. The shadow of Dracula and the world of folklore still loom large, but Transylvania's true history is far more nuanced and compelling. From the ancient Dacians to the Hungarian kingdoms, from the rise of empires to the fall of communist rule, Transylvania's story is one of survival, transformation, and mystery. And as we continue to explore this enigmatic land, we are reminded that history is not just written in books, but in the land itself, in the villages, in the forests, and in the people who call it home. Transylvania remains a place where the past and present collide, creating a tapestry of stories that continue to unfold. Section 16 KO expand Caro 1500 plus words Ma English Ma without any headings. The mysteries of the ancient world are not only found in the distant sands of Egypt or the dense jungles of South America. They are also buried in the frozen tundra of the Arctic Circle. The Arctic, often thought of as an inhospitable wilderness where only ice, snow, and harsh winds dominate, has a far deeper and more complex history than most people realize. Beneath its cold surface, countless untold stories of ancient civilizations, lost cultures, and human survival can be found. While the Arctic's extreme environment has deterred large-scale settlement and development, the stories that lie hidden beneath its ice hold profound implications for understanding human migration, ancient exploration, and the evolution of societies in even the most unforgiving corners of the Earth. Long before the modern world began to explore the polar regions, the Arctic was home to some of the most resilient peoples on the planet. The first human migrations into the Arctic are believed to have occurred thousands of years ago, during the last ice age, when sea levels were lower and land bridges connected continents. These early peoples, often referred to as Paleo-Eskimos or pre-Inuit groups, are believed to have crossed from Asia into the Arctic region, marking the beginning of human habitation in one of the most remote places on Earth. Their migration was not only a remarkable feat of survival but a testament to the adaptive ingenuity that allowed humans to thrive in environments where the forces of nature seemed insurmountable. The Ice Age was a period of extreme climatic conditions, with large portions of the Earth covered in ice sheets. In this frozen landscape, the first Arctic inhabitants had to be highly resourceful, hunting marine mammals such as seals, walruses, and whales, while also gathering whatever plant materials could survive in such a cold environment. Evidence suggests that early Arctic peoples constructed complex, insulated shelters from animal hides and bones, relying on every resource available to protect themselves from the brutal cold. Yet, these early Arctic cultures left little trace behind. Their tools, shelters, and art, though relatively simple, were crafted with an understanding of the harsh environment and the animals they relied on. What little evidence has survived from these groups, stone tools, bone carvings, and other artifacts, suggests a deep connection to the land and sea, and an understanding of how to coexist with nature in ways that we have only begun to comprehend. One of the most mysterious aspects of the Arctic's ancient past is the sudden disappearance of the Paleo-Eskimos around 1000 BCE. This phenomenon is still a subject of debate among archaeologists and anthropologists. Some researchers suggest that their disappearance was due to environmental changes, such as a warming climate that affected their food sources. Others argue that the introduction of new cultures, such as the Thule people, who arrived around 1000 CE and replaced the older Paleo-Eskimo populations, led to their downfall. The Thule people, ancestors of the modern Inuit, were better adapted to the Arctic's changing conditions and had more advanced technologies for hunting and surviving in the harsh conditions. Their arrival marked a shift in Arctic history as they introduced more sophisticated tools, including the harpoon and the kayak, which enabled them to hunt more efficiently in the challenging Arctic waters. The Inuit and their ancestors developed an extraordinary relationship with the Arctic environment. They were able to exploit the land's resources in ways that seemed almost magical. Their ability to navigate vast stretches of icy terrain, hunt marine life in the freezing waters, and build ingenious structures like igloos has long fascinated outsiders. But it was not just their survival tactics that made the Inuit and other Arctic cultures remarkable. It was their deep understanding of the natural world. Their cosmology, myths, and spiritual beliefs were intimately connected with the elements of the Arctic, with stories passed down through generations about the spirits of the animals, the ocean, and the sky. These narratives were not mere stories but were seen as living truths, guiding the people in their daily lives and shaping their relationship with nature. As time progressed, the Arctic began to attract more attention from explorers. In the 16th and 17th centuries, European nations sent expeditions to the north in search of the fabled Northwest Passage, a sea route that was believed to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the Arctic. The quest for the Northwest Passage captured the imaginations of adventurers and monarchs alike, and many perilous expeditions were launched in an attempt to discover it. The most famous of these expeditions was led by Sir John Franklin, a British naval officer, whose ill-fated voyage in the 1840s would go down in history as one of the most tragic and mysterious events in the history of Arctic exploration. Franklin's expedition set out in 1845 with two ships, the Erebus and the Terror, to navigate the Northwest Passage. Equipped with provisions for several years, the expedition soon became trapped in the ice, and the entire crew perished under mysterious circumstances. The ships were abandoned, and the fate of Franklin and his men remained one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 19th century. The only clues to their disappearance were found decades later, when expeditions recovered skeletal remains, personal belongings, and evidence of cannibalism, an indication of the dire conditions the crew had endured. Franklin's expedition, along with the many others that preceded and followed it, highlighted the harsh and unforgiving nature of the Arctic, where even the most prepared explorers could be lost to the icy vastness. The Franklin expedition is just one example of the dangers that awaited explorers in the Arctic, but it also symbolizes the human drive to conquer the unknown. Over the centuries, explorers from various nations, including the British, Americans, and Russians, attempted to chart the Arctic, establish permanent settlements, and unlock its secrets. But for most of history, the Arctic was an inhospitable land that resisted human occupation. It wasn't until the early 20th century, when technological advancements made it possible to venture further into the region, that humans began to truly understand the Arctic environment. The 20th century marked a turning point in the history of the Arctic. The advent of air travel and icebreakers allowed scientists and explorers to penetrate deeper into the Arctic than ever before. In 1909, American explorer Robert Peary famously claimed to have reached the North Pole, though his achievement has been disputed by some historians and explorers. In the following decades, the Arctic began to emerge as a critical area of geopolitical interest, particularly during the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union competed for dominance in the region. The Arctic, once seen as a desolate wilderness, was now seen as a strategic location, rich in natural resources and a key point of military importance. It is during this period that the true significance of the Arctic became apparent. Beneath its frozen exterior, vast oil and gas reserves lay hidden, waiting to be discovered. The Arctic Ocean, which had long been seen as a barrier to exploration, began to be seen as a potential economic and strategic asset. As nations began to develop new technologies for drilling and extracting resources from the region's icy waters, the Arctic became a contested frontier, with various countries vying for control over its vast resources. But despite the modern technologies that allow us to explore the Arctic more thoroughly than ever before, the region's past remains largely elusive. Archaeological work in the Arctic is still in its infancy, and much of the region's history remains buried under the ice. Recent discoveries, such as the remains of ancient settlements and tools used by early Arctic peoples, have shed some light on the region's past, but much more remains to be uncovered. The secrets of the first human migrations, the rise and fall of ancient cultures, and the ultimate fate of lost Arctic civilizations are still locked away beneath layers of ice and permafrost. The Arctic continues to be a place of fascination and mystery. It is a land where human history has been shaped by the harshest of conditions, where survival was a constant battle against the forces of nature. The ancient peoples who inhabited the Arctic were pioneers in the truest sense of the word, carving out lives for themselves in one of the most difficult environments on Earth. Their survival, and the legacy of their cultures, offer profound insights into human resilience and adaptability. Today, as the Arctic faces the unprecedented challenges of climate change and the melting of its ice sheets, new mysteries are emerging. As the ice retreats, it is revealing artifacts and evidence of ancient cultures that have remained hidden for millennia. But it is also raising questions about the future of the region. Will the Arctic become more accessible, opening up new opportunities for exploration and exploitation? Or will the environmental changes continue to reshape the region in ways that we cannot yet fully comprehend? The Arctic's ancient past and its future are inextricably linked, and understanding one will help us better understand the other. The frozen landscape of the Arctic holds secrets that may change the way we think about human history and the planet itself. But as we explore this remote and enigmatic region, we must also remember that the Arctic is not just a place to be conquered, but a place to be understood and respected. The peoples who have lived in the Arctic for thousands of years have a deep knowledge of the land, and their insights may hold the key to unlocking the region's mysteries, both past and present. As we continue to explore the Arctic's frozen frontiers, we are reminded that even in the harshest environments, humanity's story continues to unfold, full of both challenges and discoveries. The story of the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia is often seen as the dawn of human history. This fertile crescent, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, was the birthplace of many of the world's first complex societies, languages, and writing systems. Long before the towering pyramids of Egypt or the splendor of Greek and Roman civilizations, Mesopotamia flourished as the cradle of human innovation. Its legacy is still felt today, as many of the foundations of modern society, law, government, agriculture, and writing, were first conceived in this ancient region. Yet, despite the grandeur of its achievements, much of Mesopotamia's history remains veiled in mystery, with its lost cities, forgotten kings, and vanished cultures hiding beneath the dust of time. The story begins around 3500 BCE, when the first Sumerians began to settle in the southern part of Mesopotamia, in what is now modern-day Iraq. The Sumerians are often credited with inventing one of the earliest forms of writing, known as cuneiform, which allowed them to record their laws, stories, and commercial transactions on clay tablets. But writing was just one of their many innovations. The Sumerians developed complex irrigation systems, enabling them to harness the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates to grow crops in the otherwise arid region. This ability to control water marked the beginning of urbanization in Mesopotamia. As cities like Uruk, and Lagash emerged, the Sumerians created some of the world's first urban centers, complete with monumental architecture, temples, and marketplaces. The Sumerians were not the only people to inhabit Mesopotamia, and over time, other cultures and civilizations emerged in the region, each contributing to the tapestry of Mesopotamian history. To the north, the Akkadian Empire rose to power under the rule of Sargon of Akkad around 2330 BCE. Sargon, often regarded as one of history's first great conquerors, expanded his empire to include much of Mesopotamia, creating a centralized state that spanned vast territories. Under the Akkadians, the region saw the development of a more unified cultural identity, with the Akkadian language eventually replacing Sumerian as the dominant tongue of Mesopotamia. The Akkadian Empire was followed by the rise of the Babylonians, who would become one of Mesopotamia's most iconic civilizations. The Babylonian king Hammurabi, who ruled from 1792 to 1750 BCE, is best known for his Code of Laws, one of the earliest and most complete written legal codes in history. Hammurabi's code provided a framework for justice and governance, laying the groundwork for legal systems in many cultures that followed. The Babylonians also excelled in mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. The city of Babylon, with its legendary hanging gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, became a symbol of the grandeur and cultural sophistication of the Babylonians. Yet, even as the Babylonians reached the height of their power, Mesopotamia was already beginning to experience the turbulence that would mark its history for millennia. Invasions, wars, and the rise of new empires caused the region to constantly shift and evolve. The Assyrians, who had been a dominant military power in the northern part of Mesopotamia, eventually rose to prominence and established an empire that stretched from the Persian Gulf to Egypt. The Assyrians were notorious for their ruthless tactics in warfare, and their military prowess allowed them to conquer vast territories. Despite their brutality, the Assyrians also contributed to the development of Mesopotamian culture, particularly in the realms of art and architecture. The grand palaces and intricate reliefs that adorned the Assyrian capitals, such as Nineveh and Nimrud, showcased the empire's wealth and power. But the Assyrian Empire, like many before it, eventually fell. The Babylonians, under the leadership of King Nebuchadnezzar II, sacked Nineveh in 612 BCE, marking the end of the Assyrian dominance. Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, rebuilt as a magnificent city, would become the jewel of Mesopotamian civilization. The Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders, were said to have been created by Nebuchadnezzar for his wife, Amytis, who longed for the green hills and valleys of her homeland. This lush garden, built in the heart of a desert city, symbolized the ingenuity and luxury of Babylonian society.